So, I mean, like, hey, do never come to Switzerland and pull those things out. Like, seriously.
By the way, Donald Trump impersonator, I've just invited you up on stage, man. It's been a while. And just want to tell you, man, DM me. The team will, I think you have my number. So you can DM me anytime you're in the space to bring you up, man. I love to have you anytime. So I've just invited you up to speak if you have time, if you're not on the move or anything. Ian is here as well. Good to have Ian. How are you, Simon?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good, man. Good.
Maybe
it's
we
good
will
to
get
see
the real Donald Trump next time.
We're trying, but that's gonna imagine like he does his intro into let me see where Kim is. He does his intro into Twitter coming on our space. That would be a hell of a like we did pretty good. Like we had Elon's first space other than his own be on the roundtable. We've had SBF's first interview outside of mainstream media, or you could say first crypto interview, because there was two before us, Good Morning America and stuff, on our space. The only way to top that off is either Elon joining today, because I think the circumstances make it more exciting than last time when he came in to talk about Sam, or Donald Trump just coming out of nowhere and jumping in. But
Dude, Elon is coming today, I think. But because you delayed it so much, I have no guarantee now. And none of it, I'm serious, you know. And the only problem with Donald Trump is that because he has this Twitter competitor now, he's kind of trying to not promote Twitter since
he's on a contract with them.
Since Elon is putting him back in, you know, and now that Elon got the Twitter, so. Anyways, let's see what happens. Okay, let's go.
All right, man, we're starting. I'm just bringing up all the speakers. So if you're a speaker that already spoke to the team to come up on stage, please do put your hand up. Just makes it a lot easier to find you, because Twitter glitches a lot. And if I can't bring you up, then it's glitching, so I do apologize. All right, let me check where Kim is, and make sure everyone's here.
He's down there. He's still there.
Oh, Kim is down. Let me bring him up.
Yep.
Where's Kim?
Listener
I mean, quite frankly, who better than Elon can talk about the Twitter files, you know? And
but Ken, you have to tell us if Elon joins. You have to tell us how the hell you got him, because you get a lot of the credit.
No. Come on, please.
You have to give us your secret sauce, Jerry.
No. We talk off record, please.
Okay, man. Okay. All right. I think Kim is here. Let me check. Elon, it's a pleasure to meet you. By the way, I've heard great things about you, man. Kim was
thank you,
praising you like
thank you.
And you guys did a marathon space yesterday. That was insane.
Yeah, I think it was about 5 hours. I want to say. I'm not sure. I think Tara.
10 hours. Tara, yeah, I'm trying
10
to.
Hours.
Yeah, Tara's joining as well.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah, you guys are crazier than me almost. If you had another 6 hours, you'd be crazier than me. So Kim and Tara, I'm trying to bring you guys up today, because it's glitching a bit. For some reason, I can't invite Kim. Let me see. All right, let me see how that works. Kim, invite as co-host, cannot be invited. So I'll have to see. Mm-hmm. Kim, if you're here, try to jump off, and Tara as well. Maybe they have the hand up and I can't see it. That could be the reason, because it happens a lot.
It could be.
Let me put the hands down. But in the meantime, while I do this, so by the way, if you've been invited to speak, and
I'm here, but I don't know if you're referring to Tara Bull or Tara Reid.
Tara Bull. Let me see who's on stage. Tara Reid, is that you?
Yeah, that's Tara Reid.
Yes.
Okay, I can see you now. Yeah, perfect. Mr. Trump, we were just talking about you joining the space, and you just joined. So I just want to, while I bring up Kim, there's Kim. Found him. Fuck yeah. While I bring up Kim, I just want you to tell us why you're back on Twitter and what you think of the Twitter files. Mr. President?
Well, I gotta say, I'm usually cranky about the Twitter files because none of them talk about my hair. I've got the best hair, very strong hair, and quite frankly, I'm usually upset that none of them have talked about my usually fantastic routine that I do to style my hair. And it makes me cranky. So, quite frankly, that's number one. Number two, I gotta say, Hunter Biden, wow. It's even worse than I thought. Hugely bad. I mean, the thing is that this guy makes a lot of leaders around the world look like Scooby Doo or something lovable. So I got to say, it makes me tremendously cranky, hugely cranky. But I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I'll give you my thoughts as soon if you can convince Kim and Tara to check, unless it's glitching, to check their co-host invite to come up. Tara, I've just sent you one.
The Kim
he
is here.
Kim is already co-host now.
Kim, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
I've just sent an invite to Tara as well. Tara, I've sent you an invite to co-host. I know you're requesting to speak, so let me bring you up as a speaker and then I'll co-host you. Can you hear me, Tara?
Yeah, Tara. Check your DMs from Mario.
No, it's working now, bro. It's working now. She's up. Yeah, she's up as a speaker. So we also have Alex on stage and
are you referring to Tara Reid or Tara Bull? Because
Bull.
Still a listener.
No, Tara Bull. Tara Bull is speaker, and I've just sent you a co-host invite. So I just want to start it off before kicking it off. I can't see Kim on stage, but as long as I hear his voice, I'm happy. First, I want to kick it off by applauding Tara, Kim, Ian. You guys, like, I was asleep, so I didn't go through the space. I just woke up. I didn't even know about the Twitter files. I woke up and all hell broke loose. It's insane. Reminds me of the FTX thing, but non-crypto. So I'll give you guys the mic to kind of give the audience an overview, anyone that didn't attend your space. What exactly happened? What do we know so far? What are we expecting in a few hours? In the meantime, Tara, I've given you a co-host invite, so she can accept it and become a co-host. So you should be able to see it.
I can't see it, Mario. I don't know what's going on. I can't see it.
Oh, good. I'll try to send it to you via DM if you don't see it. If it doesn't work, so I'll keep trying. It should work. Also, just want to welcome new speakers, Alex and Spike. It's the first time on stage. Guys, you can put your hand up anytime. And Tara, Kim, myself will just give you the mic to speak. Or you can just jump in if there's a relevant point you want to comment on. We're very chill in how we do the space. But otherwise, I'll give the mic while I try to bring up Tara. I'll give the mic to Kim, Ian, and Tara just to give us an overview because they covered the hell out of this topic.
For sure. Thank you.
Yeah, well, great to be here. Yesterday, Elon obviously blew up Twitter. First, he set the world record for reloads because everyone was reloading his Twitter to see the news. But then he delivered, together with Matt, the Twitter files, and what a bombshell. I mean, it's just really amazing. You see some in the mainstream media trying to make it that, it isn't really much, but anyone who's seen the release and anyone who understands a little bit about what it means understands that this is a pretty big deal, because what Elon has revealed is that there was collusion between the Biden team, the DNC, and Twitter to shut down the Hunter Biden story because they knew it could derail Biden's chance to become president. So what we're looking at here is something that is certainly going to be investigated both in the House, probably in the Senate as well. And if the Republicans win with Walker, who is basically the vote that is going to decide, where the Senate is going, then they will have a real chance to impeach Joe Biden because of the activities that led to this whole story being censored to his benefit. So it is a major development. You will also see court cases about it. I've already seen a couple of stories today from people that are saying that they are going to sue some of the people that have been censored on Twitter, now understanding why that happened and who called the shots behind it. And so the releases today, of new information, Twitter files too, I'm looking pretty much forward to that, because if it is as damning as the stuff was yesterday, then it is going to be, even more to be excited about, because what Elon has done by releasing using this information is to talk without being censored. So that is.
What do you think is going to be in Twitter Files number 2, Kim? What's your what do you predict?
Well, I think, what happened yesterday, he delayed the release for 40 minutes because I think what happened last minute, he would have gotten some legal advice about some of the material, and the lawyers would probably want to have a bit more time to look at it and to make sure that he is not personally exposed in any way. He's done it really smart, the release, by working with Matt, with an independent journalist.
Yep.
So I think what we're going to see today is the not really willing to release yesterday because the lawyers needed more time. So I'm excited. I don't think this is going to be any less interesting than the stuff that we saw yesterday. And a lot of people have mentioned that they would have liked to see more names. They would have liked more people to be called out on the Biden side and in the DNC. And I think it's really good that didn't happen, because number one, it would have exposed Elon to potential lawsuits and things like that.
And there could be low-level staffers who are contacting Twitter, right? We don't know if it came on from Hive, if it came from Biden himself, or someone really, really close to him, right? Somebody high up in the administration now, like Ned Price. We don't know. It could just be an email from a low-level staffer, and now they would be in the firing line, which would be extremely unfair to them, right? You don't want to expose people.
Just Kim, quickly, to let you know that Richard Hart is trying to come up on stage. I'm trying to invite him. Yeah, so if you could try to invite him as well, because it's not working on my end, that would be great when you get a chance.
Yeah, I think it's because the chat is full, right? It's got 12 people in here, so I think the limit.
No, it only shows. It doesn't show 12 people. 1, 2, 3, 4. It only shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people for me. How many does it show for you?
It shows 12 for me.
Oh shit. Okay, so I'm trying to co-host Tara. That's probably Tara Bull, so that's probably why it's causing an issue. Tara, what I recommend, maybe, because that's what usually happens when it doesn't co-host, if you could jump out and then jump back, and I'll send you a co-host invite to your DM. And so jump out of the space completely, and then you could accept that. If it doesn't work, we'll do it again through a speaker. So maybe that's one thing to try.
And also, Tara, hard quit your app. So you slide it up slightly, that it shows up as a little item, and then just slide it up so it quits completely, and then restart Twitter. That will help.
Cool. So I'll let Tara do that. Not sure if you can hear us. Tara,
and if it doesn't work, you have to reboot your phone now, just so you know.
Okay. All right. So I'll let you. Sorry to interrupt, Kim. I'll let you continue, and I'll sort it out with Tara. I'll give you my WhatsApp, Tara, so you can DM me.
So the criticism was that not more people were named in the release of the first batch of Twitter files. Now, I have to say he doesn't have to do that at all, because what he has provided is evidence of collusion between a political party and Twitter to censor stuff that should not have been censored. They didn't have the legal basis to censor it. So what's going to happen on the basis of the first release? There will be court cases, there will be congressional hearings, people will be subpoenaed under oath, there will be discovery requests. So all of the names that are not currently popping up will come out in the wash of all of these actions that are now being taken by parties that were affected by the censorship, right? So he's actually playing it really smart. He's keeping himself out of the firing line by doing that, and it shows that he has great legal advice, and he's just a very clever guy. And I think what we're going to see today is the stuff that has now been vetted by the lawyers, to be released, and they've probably disarmed it a little bit. But the beauty of this thing is that there is enough now, and we'll get such a big a response from lawmakers, from parties that were affected by the censorship. in a legal sense, that all of it is going to come out. It's not preventable to stop, people being called out, people being asked to be witnesses, and under oath having to give testimony. So it's fantastic what Elon has done.
So Kim, just to be counterbalance to that, in preparation for the space, I was reading a few articles to build up a bit of a broader picture around it, a bit of a more sort of palette of colours. And one of the ones I read was the Rolling Stones, which basically said it was a snooze fest, that there was sort of not enough information shared, that it wasn't that as groundbreaking as we'd all hoped it to be. And so I'm curious for your perspective and maybe Ian's on, do you agree with that? Or you think that's complete baloney? Or is it just what you think the existing narrative is going to say? I'm curious.
So it's a very important, good question to remind everyone that the media largely colluded with the approach that Twitter took. So they were all repeating this lie by the 50-plus intelligence community members that wrote this open letter saying that this is likely to be Russian disinformation. And the media ran with that. The deep state gave them basically the transcript, how to shut this thing down. And the media is now, of course, over the fire, because with this disclosure from Elon, it is very clear that there was a collusion to try and shut this thing down, to push Biden into the White House and to...
Oh shit, Kim just dropped off.
You did? Yeah. So anyway,
I'll let you take it over, Ian.
Okay, yeah. So they claimed it was obviously Russian disinformation, right? If you look at one of the clips I posted on my timeline, it is a collage of all these MSM talking heads, for everything from Politico, which Natasha Bertrand, she was the first to kick this thing off. She was the one who claimed that the intelligence community, 50 members of them, had said it was Russian disinformation, and then it just took off from there. So CNN, MSNBC, even YouTube channels that are left-leaning were all parroting the same narrative, the same talking points, and they said that to even share it would be dangerous for democracy, right? They literally tried to shut down this whole thing, and they're all very invested in it. I mean, if you look at the people calling this expose boring, the ones who are saying that Matt Taibbi destroyed his reputation and his career for the richest man in the world. If you look at their timelines, if you dig up what they said in 2020, they're all the same people who downplayed this whole thing. They first dismissed it as Russian disinformation, and then it was obvious that it wasn't Russian disinformation when even the New York Times had to report earlier this year that it was verified, and CBS had a great report a few weeks ago that, confirming every single aspect of that New York Post report. They pivoted, right? They moved the goalpost and said, "Oh, it's just revenge porn of Hunter Biden." Right? It's a poor man. He's an addict, and you're bullying him. I mean, I even saw the same talking point yesterday, where a lot of people were saying that I think it was Max, what's his face, the guy from Vox, or the editor in chief, saying that this is clearly an attack on Hunter Biden, that they're abusing this poor man. Elon Musk, the world's richest man, is abusing a former addict, a drug addict. I mean, no one buys this, right? No one except for the most hardcore reader of these these rags, these disgraces as journalists. Nobody believes this, because the vast majority of people on this planet who have been, whether you've been following this news or whether it's a tangential thing, it's got to make you pause for a moment and question what it is what it is you're being told, when you're literally told by these talking heads, by people on Twitter or on TV, telling you not to pay attention to this, that this is dangerous knowledge. What do you do? Well, the reactive action is to look into it yourself, because that is your ability, right? Unless you're a sheep, unless you're an NPC, I think most people are not NPCs. They're going to look into this, and they're going to realize that they've been lied to for so many years now, and the lies just don't stop coming. And Elon Musk has given a voice to everybody.
So Ian, just to follow up on that then, some of the data that we've seen more recently from Musk himself and Twitter is that, there's been a sizable, notable decrease in the followership of left-leaning to encompass maybe far left or more central left, and a notable increase of people who are centre-right or right. Again, that's variable depending upon what context, which country you're talking about. So how do you see that playing into this? And the other thing is that I've had several messages from people, just to be balanced or for the sake of argument, someone talking about that the fact both sides requested the removal of tweets. Both sides requested it. It was something that occurred. So what are your thoughts?
Okay, so for the first question, I would say that it's true. A lot of people have logged off of Twitter, right? They've deleted their accounts, moved to Mastodon or Hive or that post-social thing, the one that's never going to take off. Obviously, those people have left. Some celebrities have quit. People like Jim Carrey, for instance, or you know who I'm talking about. So there's that, and I think those are a small minority of people who didn't really use Twitter that much, people who only maybe followed. They created Twitter accounts, had maybe 10 people that they were following for news, and they just went along with the narrative. I don't think that's a significant number of people. I think that more crucially, a lot of the people that they've been losing, that these journalists have been losing, are in fact bots. Because as we've seen, just a few days ago, when Alexander Vindman tweeted something that was attacking Elon Musk, what happened was you had all these bots, literal bots, who were repeating the same line over and over and over again, like dozens of times, to try to get his phrase to trend on Twitter. This is what they do. They use an app called Thunderclap, and some of it is automated. You have automated bots who are basically, they hone in on a single tweet, a single narrative that they want to push, and they push it out, right? Like they all say the same thing. This is why, not just a few years ago, the New York Times, every single day it would trend in the morning. And I looked into that. I was curious, why is it that the New York Times lead article, the one that is going to make the headline news and set the tone for the entire day, why does it trend in the morning? Well, if you look it up, right, if you looked up their headlines, you will see literally hundreds of thousands of accounts, some of which are even blue check marks, even journalists, who would immediately tweet the same thing the instant the New York Times tweeted it. And this is they're using an app called Thunderclap to do this, where they basically it sends it to all these accounts that are signed up with it to tweet the exact same message, and gets that entire phrase to trend. That's how they were doing this. That's how they control the narrative.
To that point, Ian, I think it's quite interesting. You mentioned Vindman. We had a conversation on Spaces about an hour after he mentioned those tweets. I met him in person in DC, and we had a conversation. And some of what you're saying, no, I'm showing this because it's real time data. Some of what you're saying is true. We did some algorithmic analysis afterwards, and what you're saying is partially true. There was a intensified rise in the amount of certain accounts associated with the hashtags and things that you mentioned. So anyway, please carry on. It's quite interesting.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
no worries.
Can I jump in here?
May I speak, please? So I think we're enough people now on the Spaces for Elon to jump in. The thing is, we have to be careful about what we say, because like Kim said, this is actually escalated quickly to national security type of thing, and it's very tricky when you have a Democrat president in the Oval Office while it actually concerns potential election manipulation. Yeah, and so I don't know if everything was exactly planned from Elon, about these Twitter files, but here's the thing: you have to consider things with different perspectives.
So you're going to censor the censorship conversation? Is the idea?
No. Look. So let me just finish this so that hopefully we'll get Elon on.
I feel
so. Essentially, because of the firing that has happened in, there is a highly likelihood of leaks, because that's just how people are. They seek for vendetta, and so the best way, when you know that there's going to be a leak, is that you can leak it yourself, so that you can spin it and control a little bit more the narrative, okay? And that's basically why Elon should join and then just talk about it, Now, the thing is, like, like I said, it's very sensitive data, and there's people listening to this, okay, and to this one podcast, to this one Spaces, and it's very hard to control now the narrative, because Elon has hinted very clearly that Twitter Spaces is now becoming essentially citizens reporting, and we have today more credibility in here in these Twitter Spaces, which will eventually become the Everything app. We have more credibility than the CNNs and the mass media of this world, who, by the way, don't even have the followers they claim they have. And you add on top of that the what Ian was saying, which is the bots who make it look like people are still listening to them. They are not. Nobody is listening to mass media anymore. And they have completely shot themselves in the foot with the COVID narrative, because now we know that they are unreliable. It used to be that people know that the government lies, but then they don't connect the dots for some, human stupid reason, that they say, okay, so do you ask a person straight in the face, you say, do you trust the government? And they will say no. But when the mass media reports whatever the government wants you to accept as 100% truth, then for some reason they believe it. Okay, this is no longer true for a part of the population. This is basically changing, and be a broadcast of what actually people think, and that will be echoed to the peoples, and therefore they will lose the control of the narrative. And this is the most important thing in society, because when you do not control what the broad mass psychology is, and again, I would point you to an interview I did with Matthias Desmet, who wrote a book, the Psychology of Totalitarianism. He's the psychology professor who was attempted to be banned from the University of Ghent in Belgium because he was pointing out at the fact that there was what he coined as mass formation. Okay, and this is basically breaking down now. And so with this, all I wanted to say, right, is I know for a fact that Elon is listening to this, or his associates are. So I just want to say two things. Number one is, please retweet these spaces and bombard Elon to come on board, so that he does. Okay, and if you have access, we're going to be speaking now for a couple of minutes about the Twitter files. So I think it's only right, for him, who owns this platform, to come on stage and to talk about it, so that he can control what is being said, because otherwise there will be speculations and there will be things that will not be able to be truthful. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say, Mario. And yeah,
yay!
Thank you very
My
much
turn.
for getting me. Yep.
Yeah. What's
up, everybody? Richard Hart here to drop truth bombs on you guys. Look, you guys are all acting like something amazing happened here. You're not in the real game, okay? In the real game, we're still totally censored everywhere. We can't see anything we want anywhere. I've been banned off YouTube 4 different times, begged the internet gods to unban me. Thank God they did, because there ain't no customer service email. You're literally one bot away from being completely removed from society. And so many people used to be able to speak publicly, they can't anymore. There was a bald dude. He used to talk about atheism and being free from your parental control. I think his name was Stefan Molyneux. Gone. He's gone. Alex Jones, gone. Trump, gone. This dude named Destiny, gone. And there's all these other people that are just totally gone. You'll never hear from them again. They don't exist anymore because they got canceled by all the people that are in power. So Elon bought Twitter to try and unscrew it. It's obviously sucked, which is why he had to buy it. It was good. He wouldn't have had to buy it and fix it. And then he discovers that, oh, look, censorship was happening. We know. We've all had, like, you're not allowed to advertise crypto on there. They don't accept the ads. You're not allowed to advertise crypto on Reddit. You're not allowed to advertise crypto in magazines. You're not allowed to advertise anything except that hurts people. If you have an exchange that hurts people, they'll take your ads. If you have a casino, they'll take your ads. If you have sports betting, they'll take your ads. But if you have an honest cryptocurrency, they won't accept your ads. And so what you need to do to get your free speech back isn't to beg Elon to release papers of what is obvious, that they've been censoring the crap out of everything. The only unique or interesting part of which was the ruling party had some say in it, which is obviously a First Amendment violation. And by the way, my people, the Hexicans, for you guys that don't know, I founded a cryptocurrency. My people are receiving government subpoenas asking them for records of every conversation they've had with other people about the product. Now explain to me how that's okay with the First Amendment, how that's not a chilling effect, how that is not a slap strategic lawsuit against public participation. The government is fishing expedition asking people for their conversational records with me. Why is the government subpoenaing people's conversations with me? This is happening to me. So is anyone else on the call having people subpoenaed for their conversations? No, just me. It's not a fair world that we live in. And where's our redress? Where do we go to get fairness for this? So what I'm saying is the solution for all of this censorship crap is to treat the utilities as utilities and break them up like you did Ma Bell when Ma Bell was a monopoly through the same central telecom switch. That's the reason you could get internet from 10 different places instead of just having AOL. So regulating these utilities will give you your freedom back. Giving you data portability will give you your freedom back. There used to be a hashtag on Twitter called net neutrality. And net neutrality meant that you and your packets and your data had to be treated the same as everybody else's. And they couldn't decide to just like, oh, you want to send a Bitcoin transaction? Yeah, we're just going to put a 10% tax on that. Oh, you want to visit a shopping website? We put a 2% tax on that. Because they could do that, and they want to do that. Like these telcos want to monetize in any way they can. They don't want to be a dumb pipe. They want to act like they're an endpoint and try and start siphoning money off you. And so basically, like, even Twitter's trying to do this. Right? Twitter wants to bang you for $8, but it's so funny. They don't really want to bang you for $8. You can still use the platform at the same level, roughly, as someone that didn't pay the $8. You're just paying for basically a hat, except they only have one color of hat, and it's called a blue check mark. So it's like a Team Fortress hat, except it's just a blue check mark, which, by the way, I had to work a lot harder for. I didn't pay $8 for my blue check mark. I had to do it the hard way. So it's just, I don't understand why everyone's so excited about a data leak that is something as obvious. Let me cut
you off right there. The reason people are excited about this data leak is, yes, it is confirming the obvious, but there's a difference between something being true to everybody and having evidence for it. That's the difference, right? That we haven't had any hard evidence that they were actually colluding. They could deny it, and there's no way to say, hey, you guys are lying, because that would be stipulation. That's the difference. That's why this matters. If we're going to, when I say we, I mean as in the public, is going to make this into an issue where they bring it into the court of law, we're either through AG, some state, from places like Florida or Texas, or if they're going to do it in Congress, they need evidence. They can't just be saying, making assumptions and going on some fishing expedition to make the claim that can easily be denied and shot down. That no court is going to say, oh yeah, that's totally legit because it seems to be true. No, there needs to be evidence, and Elon has provided the evidence. That's what we're excited about.
So I shouldn't ask you, Richard. I shouldn't ask you how you feel about the EU's proposal concerning Twitter in the next few months. Then,
what was the EU proposal?
Well, the EU's basically saying that they're going to prevent the they're going to bar Twitter unless they do something about the potential limitations on freedom of speech.
No. But, if I remember correctly, every big global war has come from that side of the world. So maybe they should chill out and let the free speech stuff work.
I'm just joshing with you, buddy. It's nice to see you. How you doing?
Good. So, the solution here is, by the way, Twitter is a private company. They could ban everyone named John legally. But you're just not allowed to be named John. We don't serve John. Sorry. Bye, Johns. So the only way that this evidence is going to be useful is if the ruling party used it to stop people's First Amendment rights. And I think
there you have it, though, Richard. And I'm speaking to you as someone who worked for Biden years ago and blew the whistle and came forward. I just had, I don't know if you saw it. I gave it to Mario. It could be up in the little top, but the Daily Caller just showed the subpoena. They subpoenaed all my social media when I came forward. I'm just a regular citizen, but they did it under sealed warrants, and there's a sealed case. I don't even know what it's about, other than I'm being investigated, simply because I came forward as Biden. So what this is showing is, and I'm speaking to you now, with my lawyer hat on, is what Ian pointed out. This isn't just rumors, isn't just like people saying or colluding and talking about it. It's actual receipts of showing what prosecutors look for is a pattern of behavior, and also receipts. It shows when, why, where, and also the motive of how the DNC and the Biden campaign, and then the Biden administration colluded with intelligence agencies. Now that's very key, because then you get into the constitutional rights. And the intelligence community, they take, and just like Biden when he, in his administration, they took an oath to uphold the Constitution, and they violated that oath. And that's what Elon Musk pointed out in his tweet. That's why this is very important, because this is historical. This will go down in history, and it's going to take a while for it all to unravel. But Elon Musk, I don't know him personally, but he is heroic for doing this, because he's coming up against a huge power machine that might affect all his other businesses because of his government contracts. Because he's exposing that the intelligence community behind the scenes violated U.S. citizens' right to choose their own political candidate by suppressing information that was of the public interest. So yes, there will be huge reveals. And I think probably the reveal today, I don't know, but I'm wondering if it's going to be more about the intelligence community and that collusion, as well as corporate media. Now, the corporate media, they use PR firms for. So anyway, that's
I just think it's funny that the company that's trying to make it better is when every single crypto channel has been banned off YouTube multiple times. Where's our leaks from YouTube? Hey guys, can you guys stop screwing us, right? Or when magazines won't accept ads. It's just sad that we only get, the only people leaking data are the people that are trying to help us in the first place, we just have Twitter stuff because Elon's nice enough to hook it up.
Well, and the other point with the DOJ stuff, in my case, I didn't even know that my communications were all being taken under sealed warrants. The only reason I knew is that the Twitter attorney contacted me and said, look, we had to go to court to tell you that you are under surveillance by your government. And so as a citizen, I didn't even know. And so I'm just a minuscule example of a very big problem. And so they did take all my Twitter, all my Twitter information, all of it, as well as my Google, my Gmail, my Instagram, my Facebook, which I've deleted those apps anyway. But the point is that those companies didn't contact me. Only Twitter did, and they had to do court cases and spend thousands to do it. So that must have been under Jack Dorsey. I don't know. But I do know that I've been shadow banned on Twitter before Elon. Now I'm not. And I've been suppressed because they saw me as a threat and tried to destroy me using intelligence services. So that's what, to your point, that's why this is such a big deal. Not just for me, this is for all American citizens. American citizens should not be under surveillance by their government because they're using Twitter and Instagram and Facebook if they're not committing a crime. Simply if they're whistleblowers.
It's the Fourth Amendment. It clearly states that you should be free from unreasonable search and seizure and blanket phishing, like mass surveillance. I mean, Snowden was proved correct. Like he was right. There was illegal surveillance going on, and then everyone forgot about it. Nothing changed. The important part here is you got two enemies. The government is your enemy. They need fixed. They're doing things they shouldn't be doing, and it's not good for them or you. And the companies need fixed. You need competition to breed excellence. Unless we have data portability, and unless we have these utilities treated as utilities and broken up and demonopolized, you shouldn't be able to get cancel cultured if three companies ban you. That's not a sustainable way to live. So we've got two enemies here. One is the company monopolies, which are emergent, or not in Facebook's case. They're not emergent. They buy every competitor. And they're also government overreach. And they're two enemies, not one.
Spike, I'll let you. Spike, I saw you. Just quickly, Spike, I saw you unmute a couple of times, man. I'll give you the mic. I know it's your first time on stage. I appreciate it.
And I appreciate that. Really, the only thing I was going to add to this is that you're not going to see any kind of substantive change unless you have the public support behind it. And that's going to require these kinds of disclosures happening more and more, which is why I'm hopeful that this isn't just day 2 of Twitter files, but that we're going into multiple days of Twitter files, releases on all sorts of different things in every single sector of society, showing how Twitter and no doubt every other big tech company has been colluding directly with government to suppress information and to essentially exile and blackball people from the internet space who give dissenting voices. I hope one of the upcoming ones is going to be on the COVID regimes and the lockdowns and mandates and suppression of any question as to the origins of COVID, or wherever this goes. The longer this goes on, the more people have to be exposed to the reality that this was not a one-off thing. This was not, don't believe your lying eyes. This has always been happening, and there's a substantial proof of it, and that it's happening on all these different things as well. I hope we're going to be talking about day 130 of Twitter files.
So Spike, whilst I appreciate your point, I think we should draw a limitation to too many different things. I certainly a degree of, government suppression or, I don't know, shall we say, questionable action over certain policies, but each case is very different, and I think we should treat them in isolation. When and if certain files were to be released on COVID, on electoral issues, on the suppression of certain speech
even
and
basic
on Twitter,
things, right? Even basic things like journalists getting Twitter to suspend anyone who was posting the NPC meme or later on the Learn to Code meme, right? People were suspended for this. Hundreds, thousands of people were suspended for tweeting at journalists. And who made that call? I want to know who made that call, what it was made for, and who demanded it, right? Was it the media that was there a concerted effort by members of the media altogether emailing them? Or, was this something that someone at Twitter decided to, unilaterally do, right? We need to know these things. And like you said, right, it's going to be everything from large stories, whether it was the cover-up of the COVID-19 origins, right? Because we know Zero Hedge was banned for many, many months in 2020 for reporting that there was a large possibility it came from a lab in Wuhan, right? And then months later, they were unbanned without giving any explanation. And we need to know, the public needs to know what this is about.
But one point I did notice during the... go on, Spike. Go on, Thierry. Sorry.
Yeah. Guys, so two things. Number one, we're blowing up. And I think once we get to the 10K listeners, we have a fair chance to have Elon here. Also, I just tweeted precisely that Elon is best placed to be discussing the subject. So if you can just go and retweet my tweet, hopefully that will spam him. Anyways,
can I add to that really quick?
Just a second.
Yeah,
just a second. I thought you had a connection. Why do we have to retweet now to get Elon's attention? I don't understand.
Kim is so that I don't get spammed after. Please, can we just I'll tell you.
That's what I was wondering. And honestly, don't you think it might be more pertinent to have him in here when he's actually doing the release or after the release in order to do a Q&A?
Okay, so look, I'll tell you, Kim, off stage, yeah.
Yeah, so send me a message, Sherry, and I can forward it to Kim. Also, Tara, I've been trying just to tell everyone, I've been trying to bring up Tara as co-host for the last 20-30 minutes. Kim can't either, so just want to give her a massive shout out, and I'll keep trying to bring you as a co-host, Tara. I'm really sorry. And I've got two phones plugged into
Mario.
the space. I appreciate it.
No, it's Mario's fault.
Honestly,
Let's blame it on Mario. Let's blame it on Mario.
They need some revamping for sure.
Mario's fault. It's Mario's
by the way, we don't need to tweet anything at Elon. You don't need to retweet anything. He knows we're here. Ian is here. I'm here. He's listening to the stuff.
Exactly.
So don't worry.
He does.
If he wants to join, he'll join.
Chill.
If he doesn't, he doesn't.
Yeah,
no big deal.
So here's the thing, guys. What's very tricky for him now is that, imagine being in a position where you are running a company and you are opening a can of worms, and then you just purchased the company, okay? And there was no clear evidence of wrongdoing in the company when there was due diligence done on it, right? So he didn't know that there was any massive illegal activity or wrongdoing by the company.
Can you do me a favor, Thierry? Can you just stop talking for Elon? If Elon wants to talk about it, he will come up. He doesn't need you to be like his bodyguard, Just chill and let's see what happens.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is, imagine that you are kind of shooting yourself in the foot. That's what I'm kind of saying. Okay.
I disagree. This is exactly what he wanted.
No, okay, but the thing is,
Thierry, just read the room, let it be. Read the room. Let's go on.
Look,
correct.
Elon gets screwed by the Biden administration every single day. He is the largest new car manufacturer in 100 or 200 years in the United States. He doesn't get invited to the electronic vehicle summits. Like he doesn't exist. He's the only game in town, and the Biden administration pretends he's not even there. So, and
the media hates him. The media hates him. You can literally tweet at me, and they will write an article about how he tweeted at me, and then they repeat every single rumor they heard about either of us. It's insane. It doesn't really matter. He doesn't care, right? He just doesn't give a shit about these people because, I said to him publicly, and he agreed with me. It's there's no point in trying to play their game or placating them because they're going to hate you regardless. Fuck them. Fuck the activists, right? If you want,
they did the same. The car media did the same thing to him. And when Tesla cars came out, literally Top Gear ran it out of battery on their own just to try and make it look bad. And he had to sue Top Gear for literally savaging his new car company and making the car look worse than necessary. And so he doesn't buy ads. He doesn't buy ads. He's the only car company that doesn't buy ads. So guess who doesn't make money on him? The advertising companies, the magazines. But because the stuff's so good, they have to cover it for free anyway. So
Elon is the ad. That's because he's the ad, and he knows how to do it.
Here's a very simple explanation why Elon is doing this. Elon can't stand bullies. Elon stands up to bullies, and he also doesn't like injustice. So he is putting everything on the line to change things because he's a smart guy. He sees exactly what's going on. He knows what's wrong in society. He knows what needs to happen so humanity has a chance to move forward without all of these restrictions into our human rights and stifling of free speech. So what he's doing here is a great service to humanity. And if he wants to come up and talk about it, let him talk about it. But let's not talk about him, and how we have to protect him and all that. He knows exactly what the fuck he's doing.
He knows, yeah. He's been in this game for years and years and years.
He's going to be upset.
Could I request to have ALX speak if that's possible? I'm so sorry if Richard was speaking. I can't hear him for whatever reason. But ALX, or I don't know if you go by Alex, but he was one of the accounts that was wrongfully suspended from Twitter. I'm not sure exactly how long ago, but he was just recently reinstated by Elon. And I would really love to hear his take on all of this.
He's a Twitter POW. That's what he is. I think he called himself that on a podcast recently.
Yeah, that was not my idea for the Chiron, but I got roasted by
it's awful.
For
it's cringy.
That was not my my take for the Chiron, but I enjoyed it. It was pretty funny. Anyway, so what I think is interesting is the James Woods tweet that was requested at the behest of the DNC to be taken down. I know it had to do with the Hunter Biden thing, but he used that same template that I believe that I was suspended for, but Twitter claims I was not. It was that I side with Joe thing. That was my last tweet before I was suspended. Like 20 minutes before I was suspended, I tweeted that with like Xi Jinping, and I thought like it was a funny meme. And then I saw like Mike Cernovich like comment on it, and he said, "Oh, this watch the media claim this is manipulated media or something, and like use it to be get suspended." But yeah, so yesterday's drop kind of not only with the Hunter Biden stuff, but I want to know, and I'm interested if this is going to be covered in like the second drop. I want to know the extent of like how many users that the DNC and the Biden campaign actually requested to be taken down. How many were granted? And I would like to see each of those users like notified by Twitter. I think they have a right to know if they were suspended at the behest of the Biden campaign or the DNC, or and if it was honored especially. But in general, I think they should have a right to know.
I think that there's. I wish I were more of a lawyer in this case, but there's a big difference between the administration that's in office and has been elected and the guys talking crap that weren't elected that just happen to be a club of people. So the DNC is just a club of people. So unless they're elected, I don't think you're going to have any teeth to like stop them from lobbying to get everyone they don't like banned.
Well, this is another thing too. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's limited to before Biden got in office, the Biden campaign and the DNC. If this was going on before, and we already know with the lawsuits coming out over the COVID misinformation, that there was active coordination between the Biden administration and Twitter. So again, this could just be, a pretext and just, coming before. Again, this is one drop. We do not know what the extent of all of this is, and this is only, having to do with the Hunter Biden stuff. So,
and the point to add there too is the DNC is a representative body of a whole bunch of people that are elected representatives usually. So, typically speaking, even those people in Congress, if they were asking for this, that's an issue.
I think. By the way, just as a side note, I'm not a fan of Biden or the idea of doubling the capital gains tax rate or some of the other awesome ideas I've heard from that administration. But savaging the dude for what his kid did, unless there's direct evidence that he's involved, it's kind of scammy, right? You got a crappy crackhead kid.
There you have to.
That's
step
a can of worms.
We're not talking about like his drug habit. That's a talking point.
Yeah, no one cares about
by
that.
the corporate media. What we're talking about is his role in Burisma when he wasn't qualified. What we're talking about is when Biden was vice president and basically used his position to get financial gain for his immediate family.
Influence peddling, right? The only reason his son got the position on Burisma and with the Chinese company, with the Chinese bank, was because his dad was vice president. That's the only reason, because he had no qualifications to fill those roles. I mean, we're talking about $83,000 a month from a Ukrainian energy company. And, months later, guess what happens, right? All these favors suddenly start going to Ukraine. That's very interesting. Now, there's no hard evidence that these things are connected. But, it's quite obvious why his son got those positions, at the very least.
Well, there's one.
I think, Ian, there's the email. There's the email that violates the emollients clause of the Constitution.
Tara, even more importantly, there is a former partner of Hunter Biden who set up the company with him that benefited from all of these investments out of China, Ukraine, and so on. And he went on television and told his side of the story that Joe Biden was very much involved in these businesses, that he was the big guy who was going to get a 10% share out of all of these dealings and transactions. And this guy came forward with concrete evidence, emails and everything. And the FBI literally refused to interview him and looked the other way. And just recently, again, he's been at Fox with Tucker Carlson to explain that, none of the stuff that he has revealed, including hard evidence in writing, emails, have been reviewed.
Exactly. And I think the bigger issue here is the bigger picture issue is how the Biden campaign in 2020 was using their position to influence the conversation via social media, Twitter being one of those platforms, by siphoning it, controlling it, and suppressing it. And that has to be looked at.
Also, part of the problem, too.
That's a party institution overriding democratic process. Like you could argue that, if you have an elected party and then they're having influence on the way that these companies operate, at least it seems like people are arguing it's up to these companies to decide whether to collaborate with these institutions, as in they're private companies, so they have the right to decide what's on their platform or not, which I don't think actually relates to their responsibility, just like you have other types of utilities, like energy utilities, that are regulated specifically because of their importance to the public and the fact that the public needs these services. This is the big thing that actually has to be addressed with social media companies, is they have this responsibility because they determine public discourse and they determine elections. So when you have a campaign of a presidential party having influence over what can be discussed on social media, that's where you create a situation where the embedded power in these party institutions is affecting an election because they are able to speak directly to a social media company before they've been elected. And you're seeing this where you have two parties that are capable of influencing in this way. And the boundaries of those two parties as an establishment, in terms of the people who are included in that industry of politics and not, determines who has influence over what is allowed on social media. So at a foundational level, this is a violation of First Amendment right.
Absolutely, Tim. And, as a customer, like I'm a U.S. citizen, here I was, my information taken under sealed warrants by a government agency when I didn't commit a crime. I simply told of a crime, something that happened to me. So I think for everyone, for all U.S. citizens, just regular citizens, how can we have trust and faith in these social media companies if they're simply colluding with political power and with campaigns or with the governing, at the time, whether it be about COVID, or in my case, it was a whistleblowing case, or the Hunter Biden laptop. It doesn't matter what the subject matter is. The fact is, the intelligence communities should not have the overreach to reach into private companies and take personal data without permission and without.
I think we lost. Sorry about that, Tara. I think we lost Kim. I don't know if he's reconnecting. Mario, or you're able to get him back up here.
Yeah, I'll DM him now. Kim, can you hear me? No, it's glitching.
I was just going to offer to do a quick reset of the room and just remind people that yesterday it was around this time that the files dropped, I believe. So it could be happening soon. Also, if you're liking what you hear in here, make sure you're following the host, Mario, so you can catch his spaces in the future. And make sure you retweet the space so others see it.
You gotta follow Tara. You gotta follow Tara. She deserves a lot of credit for making this happen. And Kim, are you back? As you see you come up again.
So there's something really weird going on here. So every time I speak and I raise important issues, I get kicked from the space. And when I join back, it doesn't let me speak or do anything. So I really had to restart my phone and everything. It's really.
Do you know, Kim? You know me. I don't like. I'm not a. I wouldn't say conspiracy theorist, but I don't like to make up stories. And I want to tell you something though that I haven't spoken about. Remember when the Hunter Biden thing happened? A lot of the press was asking me what happened. I've had a lot of glitches on Twitter Spaces. Like today, I can't co-host Tara. I'll try again soon. It could work. Some speakers we can't bring up. I hope Jack is up. Jack Levin. I've been trying to bring him up for a while.
Jack's up. Yeah. Jack's
up. Sick. Perfect. Yeah. So Kim, what happened? And I haven't said this to anyone yet except my team. With the Hunter Biden thing, we had a glitch that we've never had before. I've done dozens, maybe 100 spaces plus. Never had this glitch. So when it started getting
in the room, guys, just so you know.
Oh. Sick. All right, cool. I'll invite him up. Hopefully it doesn't glitch. When Elon was here last time, I brought him up as a co-host, and it glitched.
Yeah, just invite him as a speaker because co-hosting is very glitchy.
Yeah, I wouldn't make an account that size. It's better just Elon's a speaker. I think it would be.
Yeah, I've just sent him through a speaker invite. So Elon, I hope it works. Yeah, so what happened with the Hunter Biden when he was on stage is it started glitching for me, a glitch I've never had before. Again, I'm not making theories. It could just be a glitch. But when it started getting a bit heated, and one of the speakers asked a question we weren't allowed to ask, it started muting and unmuting everyone. No, first it kicked. So it was Hunter and someone that works with him. We had many other speakers. None of them were removed except the person that second, right after, within seconds, while all our mics were muting, unmuting, non-stop. And then we closed the space, did it again. We never have a glitch when we do it again. Same issue happened again. And someone started, an analyst told me, Mario, there's actually something fishy happening. So I don't think it's happening now, Kim, to you, and maybe it was a glitch back then. Never brought it up, but it was a very well-timed glitch, and then after maybe 5 minutes it didn't work
Mario,
anymore.
just to be on the other side, I have a different position to some other speakers here on certain things. It's happened to me as well, so I think it's a technical error.
So yeah, I think it is technical error. It happened to me and all other speakers, so it would mute, unmute non-stop, and we started the space again. This error never happened before. Other errors happen on a regular basis. Again, Piotr, as I said, it could very well be just a glitch. Just a very ironic and well-timed glitch. But anyway,
I think it's important to raise it. I think it's important to raise it. Sorry, go ahead.
Please, Kim, check your direct messages because I sent you a bunch of them. And Elon, I know that you're listening now, so it'd be great. That's what I was saying. It'd be great if you could come on stage because we will be able to be a little bit more truthful and factual about what is going on instead of allowing speculations regarding the Twitter files. I think you're in the best position, knowing what you know, to have a truthful and mindful conversation. So if you could join, Mario, you're sending him the invite, I guess.
I have, yeah, I've sent him a couple invites.
Maybe he can at least let us know what time the next drop will be so we can get Twitter numbers at an all-time high again.
So Alex, I know you have your hand up while I try to invite Elon. Go ahead.
By the way, I tried to move Elon up just now. It says error. He cannot be moved. So the app.
It's working now. My invite is working from my end. But yeah, I'll keep trying. Go and I'll DM him on. Or Elon, I can't DM you. You can DM me if it's not working for you. Sorry. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, so I just wanted to go back to a point that Richard made when he said that he doesn't care about like the activities of Biden's son and like his drug abuse. I think that
I care greatly. I just said I wanted evidence of a tie.
That's okay. So, but this is my point though. I think that overall demonstrates the point of why it's so important that this story got out is because a lot of people might have that opinion. They might say that.
Hey, Elon's a speaker now.
Okay, yeah.
Elon's up with this. Elon, can you hear us?
Awesome.
Elon, can you hear us? I think he's up.
It takes a while to load.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
there
I can hear you now.
I don't miss
Fantastic.
Sorry, guys. I think there's like maybe some glitches in the spaces that we need to fix. I'll dig into it next week. Yeah, I mean, on the Twitter file stuff, I mean, the idea here is simply to come clean on everything that has happened in the past in order to have build public trust for the future. I think that's essential. Like, why should people believe Twitter in the future if Twitter does not come clean about the past? That's what it comes down to. So it's just, so I've given Matt Taibbi, and then just recently, just about an hour ago, Barry Weiss, access to all Twitter documents. So it's like unfettered access to anything. And this is not like a North Korean tour guide situation. This is you get to go anywhere you want, whenever you want, wherever you want, however you want. So I'm not like controlling the narrative or. I didn't, I was seeing Matt's tweets as he was tweeting them. So I'm like, I was just as eager to see them as everybody else. And I think Matt did a great job. I mean, there are a few cases where I think we should have excluded some email addresses. Sorry, Jack. Jack at Pizza is now, might need a different email address, but so we also need to, not have email addresses in there. And I think we need to post more actual source documents, so then people can draw their own conclusions. But it's just obvious that there's been a lot of control of information, suppression of information, including things that affected elections, and that just all needs to be, it's kind of like this friggin' Stasi files, like at the point you just want to have the stuff out there. So
Elon, I have a very blunt question for you then. Given the past few days over Yi and what we're talking about, the freedom of expression, and people want to ask hard questions. So we've had one side where we've now seen you freeze his account again, but now you're releasing information that, about the freedom of expression. So how are you going to balance the levels to which we speak about the freedom of expression on Twitter?
Yeah, well, I think,
if that makes sense.
Sure. With Kanye, it's obviously a difficult subject, but that was a case where it was like, where that was my decision. But I think it's important that people know, okay, that was my decision, because at a certain point you have to say, what is incitement to violence? Because that is against the law in the U.S. You can't just have form a club, let's go murder someone club. That's not actually legal. So the question is, what is incitement to violence? And I think, posting swastikas in what is obviously not a, good way, is an incitement to violence. I personally wanted to punch Kanye, so that was definitely inciting me to violence. Anyway, that's not cool.
Just hang on, but you mentioned in a good way.
Well, no, it's just that it could be like an analysis of the Second World War or something. That's a history drama, or whatever.
It's contextual.
Yeah,
right?
It's like okay, like let's a battlefield or something, and that's got so some sort of war history thing. I don't know, something like that. Then that would be okay, but.
It has to be contextual. I mean, if he's posting it in a way that is trying to rally people to anti-Semitic views, then yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you can also say okay, well, let's look for added context outside of Twitter to say well, was this meant in a friendly way? And it's like, okay, well, no, he's saying that he likes Hitler and other things. And look, at the point at which Alex Jones is like telling Kanye to calm down and please stop. You have to say, okay, Alex Jones is pretty edgy. So Alex Jones is saying Kanye wants Kanye to stop. That's a big deal. So anyway, but I don't want to get into some sort of huge this could easily get derailed into a laborious.
Agreed. Yeah, we should talk more about the file. So you mentioned that you gave it to Barry Weiss, right? So she has full access. Does this mean that we are going to see multiple exposés, not just one from Matt Taibbi?
Yeah, the point is to just have everything come clean. So the thing is that it's not that people would necessarily agree with everything that Twitter has done in the past or in the future, but they should at least know that it is occurring and there's no shady stuff that is happening that they're unaware of. So then at least if Twitter is explicit about its actions and transparent, you can then appropriately calibrate your interpretation of what you learn on Twitter. As opposed to thinking, Twitter pretending to be unbiased and even-handed is not. So there's a way to get everyone to agree with all the actions that Twitter will take. That's impossible. That is a null set. So, but what it is possible to do is to be fully transparent about the actions that are taken. Give me a break.
Oh, you're back.
He's back.
You dropped out for a bit. Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear us, Elon? Or it's not? You're still glitching a bit. Can you hear me?
I'm about to take over.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. carry on.
This just turned into a Verizon commercial really quick. I just wanted to ask Elon really quick if there's any way to combine Twitter's efforts with people who have gone, as far as filing constitutional challenges. Is there any way to get them in touch with Matt and combine the efforts there?
Possibly. I'd reach out to Matt. There's... and I mentioned, I've also asked Barry Weiss to, also, given her access. I just gave Barry Weiss access to the Twitter files like an hour ago. I think at some point it might make sense to just have them publicly available, so that anyone can look at them.
A quick side question. Sorry, go ahead.
The general thing we're aiming for is anything bad that Twitter's done in the past that at least it'd be surfaced so as to instill trust about Twitter in the future. And the thing where I may have blanked out a moment ago is that it is impossible for Twitter to take the set of actions that will satisfy all people, or probably even 90% of people. But what Twitter can do that is unequivocal is be completely transparent about its action and what's what is it doing, what is it not doing, how does the algorithm work, and if an account is suspended, why is it suspended? If an account is deboosted, just showing that it's been deboosted or search banned, and giving a reason for that, so that there's maximum transparency in the system. So that even if you disagree with what's going on Twitter, you at least can calibrate what you learn on Twitter based on what Twitter's doing. Not have a situation where Twitter is claiming to be fair and even-handed, and then actually is not being so, at least from your perspective. So,
do you have plans, Elon, to take Twitter public again in the future?
Sorry?
So Tara's asking, by the way, James Wood, I've sent you an invite. Real James Wood, I've sent you an invite. Check your DMs. Tara's asking if you have any plans to take Twitter public again. And my question, I'll give you another question as well. My question is, what type of pressure, if any, have you faced since releasing the files? Did you hear me, Elon? Shit.
It sounds like he is testing the new semi-truck himself.
Can you hear us, Elon? Oh, you're back. Yeah, you're back. You're back. Go ahead, Elon.
I'm airborne right now, so I'm on Starlink, actually. So we'll see how well Starlink works.
Okay.
It's working. It's working well now. It's working well now.
I moved a couple of people down so we can have a more civil, conversation without too many speakers on stage, because there are a couple of important questions that I want to ask you. The first one is, obviously with your move of full transparency, you are putting the groundworks in place to justify why free speech on Twitter is so important and why you are making the decisions, of, for example, a great amnesty for all users, and by showing that abuse has happened in the past and that Twitter, before it was under your control, was abusing their power. You're basically setting the stage to say, okay, people should all have their rights, unless they broke the law, restored to be on Twitter. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, yes. That is the intent. Now, to be clear, we're all going to be doing this sort of slowly and deliberately. That this can't be let's open all the jails simultaneously and have at it, guys. So it's going to be slower than people would like. It's more deliberate. I do have a lot of shit going on right now, so just,
I can imagine.
I'm trying to do the most that I'm flogging my human brain as hard as it possible, the most amount of work done. But like this week alone, we had a meeting with Macron, yes, PC for some national security.
Oh, Starlink is also failing. Damn it.
Take 2 months instead of 1 month.
2 months instead of 1 month. That's a good timeline.
And also, I got to make sure Twitter is stable from a financial standpoint and is not losing tons of money and goes bankrupt, in which case all bets are. So there's juggling a lot of things here, to say the least. But I think over time, not that long of a time, iteratively, we can move Twitter to be a more broadly inclusive in the so like as many people as possible can participate and want to participate, and as trusted and transparent as possible. And the proof will be in the pudding over time. And we're not going to please everyone. Obviously, that's impossible because if you say like, what are the requests of everyone? You have a Venn diagram intersection of zero. But what can be done is maximum transparency. What can be done is making it clear when something has been deboosted or search banned, when your account has been deboosted or search banned, and why. When an account has been suspended, to be clear about why and whether it's temporary or what the path is to restore the account. And just I think that's something that can be done and should be done, and will massively help with trust in Twitter.
In addition to
now, there's obviously a challenge that Twitter's had over time, and I think this is generally an issue with social media, which is that it is, these are digital technologies that require a lot of software to be written, and they've sort of come out of Silicon Valley, almost all of them in Silicon Valley, with except for Snap is in LA, but it's based in California. But effectively, what is happening is an export of the moral framework of San Francisco to Earth. This is kind of a big deal and problematic because previously, San Francisco, which is pretty far left, the influence would be limited to San Francisco, but now it affects the whole world because of the centralization of information with social media companies, and that's, I think, not good. We need to establish something that is fair and takes into account a wide range of views and doesn't have a tilted playing field towards far left or far left San Francisco views. I think there should be a place for they can be on Twitter too, but there should be a wide range of political views and sentiments, and as much as reasonably possible, aim for freedom of speech. And generally, I want Twitter to be a force for good for the future of civilization. So
that's okay. Elon, can you tell us approximately how much time you have so that we can get an idea how many questions we can get in?
I don't know, like maybe half an hour or so.
Nice.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's very good. Hey, what I also see happening here is that the mainstream media that was part of covering up this Hunter Biden laptop story is now calling this some kind of fissure that they don't think that there's enough. Obviously they are acting in that way because they themselves are now on fire. Because you have exposed what they have done. What do you have to say to them?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question again? I'm in the air, so this is it's not super optimal from an audio standpoint.
He asked you what do you have to say to the media that's sort of downplaying what the Twitter files represent?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah. So he's asking you, what do you have to say to the media that's downplaying the Twitter files revelations? Because they're basically saying it's not a big deal, that it's nonsense, that it's just crap, that you're just doing this for PR. What's your response to them?
Hello?
Yep. Can you hear me?
He may be having connection issues with you specifically, Ian. There are certain people up here that I can't hear either.
Actually,
so maybe Kim, ask again.
Yeah, Kim, do you want to ask your question again? First, Elon, can you hear us? No, I think you can't hear anybody.
Yeah. I don't know if it's me.
So he's either in a semi truck or he is on his plane.
No, he's on his plane. He said he's on his plane. Yeah.
I'm in the air right now. I can hear you. I can hear you again.
Okay, cool. Fantastic. So let me just repeat my question. The media, especially the media that downplayed and censored the whole Hunter Biden story, is now trying to downplay your release. Obviously, because they are under fire as well, right? Because they have been exposed by this release. What do you want to say to them? What do you want to say to the media that is trying to turn this into a nothing burger?
Well, they're trying to turn it into a nothing burger because they were complicit in deceiving the American public. And so rather than admit that they lied to the public, they're trying to pretend that this is a nothing burger, obviously. To anyone looking at it, that's clearly what happened. So, yeah, I mean, shame on them.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then the other important thing here is that you are basically exposing collusion between a political party and in one file that was released, it was even called the Biden team contacting Twitter. I mean, that is election interference, isn't it?
Yeah, clearly, if Twitter is doing one team's bidding before an election, shutting down dissenting voices on a pivotal election, that is the very definition of election interference. I mean, what the hell else would you? Of course, it's like, yes, frankly, Twitter was acting like an arm of the Democratic National Committee. It was absurd.
Well, and that's fantastic that you're releasing that, but isn't Twitter just the tip of the iceberg? Can't we admit now that this would have happened at all big tech companies that are, being used to stifle free speech and censor people and try to, destroy stories that are dangerous to their political goals?
Yeah. No, I mean, the level of collusion is insane. Like Twitter is the one company that is no longer colluding, and is no longer just going with the sort of NPC groupthink. So I don't know. I should probably increase my security or something.
Absolutely. I mean, this is why I hate you so much.
What I find most interesting. What I find most interesting.
I can play something here.
Just a second. That would have been my next question, Elon. How worried are you personally? I mean, you're putting a lot on the line, right? You have all these businesses going. You are out there fighting the good fight for free speech, but there's also certainly a concern on your mind about what the response to this is going to be. Do you feel threatened? Do you feel worried? Like, how do you feel personally about this?
Yeah, and I'll add on to a question I asked as well, Elon. Like, what type of pressure have you faced so far?
Maybe I should be more worried than I am, but I don't know. I think generally, if you do right by the people, then you have the people on your side.
Elon, if you want, you can come to Sweden.
Oh, you dropped out, Thierry. Can you hear me first, Elon, before I give the mic back to Kim?
I lost the signal there.
Yeah, oh good. Yeah, he dropped out. Can you hear me or not? Just so I know, if you can't hear me, I'll give the mic back to Kim. No, you can't hear me. Kim, you take the mic.
I was going to ask
go ahead,
him
Tara.
what
go
he
ahead,
thought, really quick, of Senator Warren's response that one person, him, should not have control over the narrative.
Elon, I was saying, you can come to Switzerland by...
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not one person has control of the narrative, because there's the entire mainstream media establishment who all talk like groupthink NPCs. There's Facebook, there's Google, there's TikTok. No, the actual problem is there's one person who isn't towing the line. That's the real problem.
Thank you. That's the exact response that we needed.
That's you, yeah. I mean, that's
so.
Ian,
Ian, can you ask him a quick question as well? Because I don't think you can hear me.
As soon as one person doesn't toe the line, now everyone else is looking like,
Well, now we're allowed to, Elon, and that's the issue. Is before we were at risk of being suspended or deplatformed.
You're allowing. I mean, you're showing
exactly.
people that
So,
it's possible to.
I mean,
to
this
do
is where, like competition does keep companies honest, or should. It is a force for keeping companies honest. So if there's a competition for the truth, and Twitter wins the competition for the truth, then it will win over the readership and the attention of the public, and everyone else will be forced to tell the truth too.
Do you think that you run the risk of like the EU Commission or any of these other big political bodies trying to take you down when you're doing this?
Yes. I do not think this is a risk-free endeavor. But I also think that, like, as long as there's the support of the people, then you have to say, like any organization, at least in the U.S., that it is going to go against the will of the people, I think will be in big trouble themselves.
Elon, you're doing this at such an important time in history because I think people can sense that the censorship is becoming more, that the media is spilling more and more propaganda, that we are heading into a future acceptable anymore. And for you with your audience, to go out there and put this transparency out there, I think a lot of people appreciate that this is a fight that you are taking center stage, in order to fix some of these issues.
Yeah. No, I mean, frankly, the risk of something bad happening to me, of even literally being shot, is quite significant. I'm definitely not going to be, doing any open air car parades. Let me put it that way. But it's also it's not that hard to kill me if somebody wanted to. So hopefully they don't. And if fate smiles upon the situation with me and does not, that does not happen. I'm taking reasonable precautions, I guess, but there's definitely some risk here. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think we'll just want to have a future where, we're not oppressed, or our speech is not suppressed, and we can say what we want to say without fear of reprisals. As long as you're not like really causing harm to somebody else, then you should be able to say what you want. And that's quite a rare thing, I think as people just take that for granted sometimes, but really throughout history, free speech has been highly unusual, not common. And so we have to fight very hard to keep that, because it's such a rare thing, and it's by no means something that is default. It's a controlled speech is the default, not free speech. It does seem incredibly ironic that so many reporters in the media and prominent politicians are calling for restraints on free speech. This is crazy. It feels like we're in bizarro world here.
Do you think that comes from the way that journalism is taught now in today's schools, in what we would call postmodern journalism, or where do you think that's really coming from?
I mean, I haven't been to journalism school, but it does seem as though that the elite educational institutions have been somewhat infected with an anti-free speech mind virus, which is sort of a subset of the woke mind virus. How much actual intellectual freedom and how much actual intellectual freedom is there at elite educational institutions, where you don't get completely shunned unless you abide by what everyone else thinks, and then what everyone else thinks is you're told what to think, not asked to. You're sort of, you must think this. It's not like you have freedom to think and talk as you wish.
What's the solution for this? I mean, like, obviously this is
somehow we have to, I think, purge the woke mind virus, and have truth be what matters more than anything. I mean, I think it's funny that, Harvard's motto and the Harvard standard, it's veritas, truth. That's, and the founders of Harvard were right to have that on their shield, the shield of truth. But is Harvard the shield of truth today? Maybe not.
Well, I love
Elon.
that
So we're all
for,
on this
hey,
space because of our
question, please.
belief in freedom to transact, and obviously Jack was a big Bitcoin Lightning guy. What can you comment on freedom to transact, Bitcoin Lightning, Twitter, anything we can look forward to?
Well, I think that's actually more powerful even than, I think, controlling system. If you have control of the monetary system and control of transactions, you can literally stop someone on transactions. It seems like PayPal has strayed pretty far from the path of that. Like
I've been banned from PayPal.
Seems to be moving in the direction of social credit and restricting transactions, so that's concerning. So, and I do think there is a role for crypto in the future, without speaking to any particular crypto coin, as a means of ensuring that the monetary system does not get completely corrupted. It provides competition to the fiat system, so that if the fiat system becomes overly restrictive, then crypto will grow. Like basically, the better that the fiat system works, the less prominent crypto will be, and the worse the fiat system becomes, the more crypto will grow.
Are you concerned about the moves towards central bank digital currencies?
I don't think they know what they're talking about. No, not really.
A lot of people have theorized that FTX and the fallout there was a ploy to push us toward that centralization and the digital dollar.
Fallen flat in its face now.
Correct.
I think they're complaining a few things. First of all, almost all money is digital already. The fiat monetary system, for practical purposes, consists of a series of heterogeneous mainframes running antiquated COBOL. That's the actual money system, by the way. It's kind of embarrassing. It's not like some rickety mainframes running ancient COBOL and running and doing everything in batch mode. That's the actual the fiat monetary system. So,
Elon, I've got. Yeah. Can you hear me first? Is it working now or no?
It is digital.
No shit.
But not in a very good way. And whether banks create their own cryptocurrencies, I think is somewhat irrelevant. People will use the cryptocurrencies that they think will accrue value over time, and not use the ones that don't.
Doge to the moon. Sorry.
Hey, Elon, could you shed some spill the beans on the whole SBF, Binance, and Twitter fundraise?
I think there's not much not many beans to spill here. I had one conversation with SBF in May where it was weird. It was like half an hour. He was just talking like a mile a minute. I think he was clearly on some stimulants. And he kept talking about himself and FTX, and which is weird because the call was supposed to be about Twitter. And I was like, shouldn't you want to ask me some questions about Twitter instead of talking about yourself? The vibe I got there was like, this is my bullshit meter, like with redlining. So I'm like, but everyone kept saying, Morgan Stanley and lots of other people kept saying, oh, SBF is the best and he's got tons of money. And so that's why I agreed to speak to him. But then like I said, he set up my bullshit meter, which frankly, I don't think this was like deep insight wasn't necessary. If someone's calling you to talk about investing in a big transaction, they should be asking questions about the transaction, not talking about themselves and talking at the speed of an auctioneer. So that's it doesn't require deep insight to figure out that the bullshit factor is high.
So you didn't end up with any client funds accidentally?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, Mario is having connection issues, so you're unable to hear him. And Mario, I was going to say my DMs are open if you want to relay comments or questions for Elon there, and I can try to help field those. And also, Alex is one of the accounts that was wrongfully suspended by Twitter, and you fortunately brought back. I wanted to give him the opportunity to ask you a question because he's had his hand up, if that's okay.
Okay, sure.
Hey, so I Hunter platforms, right? We also cover other requests by the Biden campaign and the DNC to censor individuals.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Alex. We can't hear you.
I can barely hear Alex. Like,
tell Elon to mute his mic and unmute.
Alex, probably, but I cannot hear him.
Yeah, tell Elon to mute and unmute just so we can hear Alex, because I think Elon's background noise is muting Alex.
Hey, Elon,
someone tell Elon. Elon can't hear me, so you have to tell him Kimotera.
Yeah, I'm telling him that he can't hear you. That's okay. Just give me 1 second here real quick. Elon, you said something, really important, and that is that truth matters. And, this is really what this is all about, because without free speech, we don't have truth. And I would like to ask you, what is your opinion about Julian Assange and Edward Snowden? Shouldn't those guys be center stage when it comes to free speech and truth? Shouldn't the US government leave Julian Assange alone and let him be a journalist?
I don't know enough about the Assange situation to give an accurate answer. There are things where, that where national security stuff is involved, that I think do need to be kept secret, because there's like nuclear secrets, and there are there are things where bad actors, if they had access to that information, could do bad things. So
yeah, but when a journalist exposes war crimes, right? When a government just goes and invades a country and kills people, against international law, when exposures like this are being made, isn't that important so people see the reality of wars and understand how some of that stuff is really bad?
Yeah, I generally think that people should, like I said, that people should be able to know what's going on in order to make sensible decisions. There's, I just don't know enough about the Assange situation to say whether he should be punished or not punished. But I do think that I'm generally in favor of freedom of information, and if there's any doubt, we should lean on the side of freedom of information.
And how about Edward Snowden, who has revealed these mass surveillance programs where the government is spying on everyone and storing all their data in these massive spy clouds, also against the law, where the Five Eyes are working together to undermine their local laws and their local restrictions on spying, and they just spy on each other and then share the data so that they know everything about everyone. How do you feel about that?
Well, probably the best thing would be a jury of the public. If Snowden were to be, I don't know. Look, I'm power in this situation, but if they're ultimately the people of the United States should be the ones who judge Snowden, not select people in the government. So if a jury of peers of citizens were to review Snowden and make a judgment as to whether he's guilty or not. I think that would probably be the appropriate course of action.
Yeah, the only problem is that if he were to be in a U.S. court, he wouldn't get a fair trial because under Espionage Act laws, you cannot even make a public interest defense. He wouldn't even be able to say, I've done that because it's the right thing for Americans to know about that. So that would be a defense that is not available to him. So to say, a jury of your peers should decide about that, that's a problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's no easy answer to the Snowden Assange situation.
Can I make a suggestion, Elon? Why don't you do a poll to your millions of users and ask them if they think Julian Assange and Edward Snowden should be given their piece for the service that they have provided to humanity?
Okay, that's a good idea. Sure.
I like that idea.
I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to ask a question on Mario's behalf really quick, since he's unable to speak to Elon, which has to be extremely frustrating as the host. He was just curious if you've faced any pressure so far since releasing the Twitter files.
I mean, I face pressure all the time, so it's kind of, it would say like, what's the differential in pressure before and after? Because I haven't seen it yet. I don't know. Maybe there's pressure, but I might just not be feeling it because this every day is a high pressure situation. But I don't know. Well, like I said, we're just gonna put all the information out there, try to get a clean slate, and then work iteratively in the future to provide the most truthful, accurate, and timely information to the people. That will be the goal of Twitter, and we won't be perfect in that regard, but I think we will be iteratively better. And if that turns out, if we're successful in doing so, then I think Twitter will compete more effectively than any other source of information, and then more people will use Twitter, and then that competitive pressure will force other social media companies and other media companies to also be more truthful, because otherwise they will simply lose their readership. And that, I think, is an extremely powerful and good vision of the future.
Could you say a little bit perhaps about what Twitter is expected to maintain as an API to, say, the Department of Homeland Security in general, the FBI, maybe CISA in particular? Is there an expected way in which the government can jack in to social media that's expected on behalf of each of the big media platforms? And is that sort of different? I don't know how to say this exactly, but the issue of left versus right is complicated by the fact that Trump is a non-player to the game, just the way Bernie might have been considered a non-player to the game. And so the secondary question is, how much of this isn't about left versus right, but about targeting anyone who isn't a party to all of the tacit agreements inside DC?
Can you still hear us, Elon?
Elon, you still there?
I hope so.
No, he's disconnected. It says disconnected for me at least. I'll invite him. I'll invite him again. Oh,
okay.
Yeah, he's back. He's back.
Hey,
Elon,
Mario,
you back?
such a pity that he couldn't hear you, man. That is just crazy.
It's fine, man. It's fine. Like, you know me. I'm happy listening. I'm happy listening. Can you guys hear me at least?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes,
I can hear you.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Dara, thanks for asking the question. I was really curious about it. But it says for me he's still a speaker. Can anyone see him as a speaker?
I can see him as a speaker, but he's not speaking.
Last time he was here, Kim, you were there as well. I think Kim, you commented and he joined. When we co-hosted him, remember Kim? We co-hosted him and it froze. So I'm like, fuck, I shouldn't have co-hosted him.
I think he's dropped off now.
Yeah, I'll send him an invite. A few people got kicked off stage, not even by you, Kim, just by themselves. So just guys, give you a heads up. Yeah. Twitter's glitching like crazy. What's your take? While waiting for Elon, guys, what's your take so far on what Elon has said? Because there's a few pretty big things he mentioned, such as the fear, the worry that he has.
Just to summarize what he said, right? I mean, his main goal clearly is that the truth is out there, that it has value again, and that Twitter needs to make a stand for free speech, which he is doing now. And he is aware of the risks to him personally and his businesses. So it's a very courageous thing for him to do. And I think, anyone who had any doubt about what his intentions are when he bought Twitter, I think it's pretty clear that what he's doing is in the interest of the people and not necessarily in his own best interest. So I find that amazing, and I applaud him for that.
Yeah, and while waiting for Elon to join again, I've DM'd him another invite. What do you guys think of his? I'm not sure if he's saying it as a joke, but his security fear on his security and
I don't think he has anything really to worry about. I mean, I don't think anyone's really going to come at him right now because it'd be too obvious why they'll be going after him. So I think he's quite safe, and he does have security. So personally, I'm not concerned. Although at the same time, there's he does have security for a reason, right? He is the world's richest man, so there's that. But I don't think it's going to be different than any other day. There's nothing that he's revealing now that is, that damaging to, any specific person, right? It's like he's more or less just giving people the platform for free speech. And the people who are most affected by this are journalists who, what do they have to lose? Well, their reputations for one, but they've already thrown it away. So I don't think I don't think he really has to worry about his personal safety. I don't think it's going to be that dire.
Elon, just to let you know, Elon is listening now. I've sent you through an invite. You should see it via DM. So I've sent you through the invite to come back on stage. So hopefully it works. It might take a bit of time because space is glitching like crazy.
It is.
For everyone else, yeah, go ahead.
Mario, there's some backfeed coming from you. I'm not sure if you have your audio playing in the background, but I can hear you twice. I don't know if anyone else is having that issue.
Oh, I can hear him twice.
Oh, shit. Okay, I'll try to fix it. By the way, everyone, I'm just going to tweet the next space link now to set your reminders for the next space. I'll fix my audio. Kim, the mic is yours.
Yeah, let's hope that Elon comes back if he has a chance. I mean, first of all, how amazing is that he joins us from his private chat, to be part of this space. That's just typical Elon. It's so cool.
I mean, it's a historical moment, right? I mean, he's a part of it. I mean, he's the part of it. So, I mean, thank you.
He's back, guys. Just FYI, he's back. Elon, let me see if he can hear me this time. Elon, can you hear me or still no?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm glad you can hear me. I'm glad you can hear me again. I think Kim, you were asking a question.
No, I was just saying how cool it is that you talk to us from your private chat. We really appreciate it. It's like a typical Elon moment, and we're just all in awe about you, taking these risks to your business and to yourself to fight for free speech. So I said to everyone who had doubts about your intentions when you bought Twitter, you are making your intentions very clear, and I think it's very courageous of you. I want to thank you for that.
No, you're most welcome. I mean, like I said, the proof will be in the pudding over time. There will be many mistakes made, but iteratively, I think that the net vector should be towards truth, if sort of new Twitter is successful in that, then the results will be that people will turn to Twitter to understand what is true, what is real, what narratives matter, and Twitter will gain a lot of readership and attention, and will put a lot of competitive pressure on mainstream media and on other social media companies to also be more truthful. because otherwise they will simply keep losing people to Twitter, and that's where the competition can be a very, very good thing. So, but it's not going to be perfect, and there are going to be decisions that people disagree with. But on balance, the overall decisions are ones that people do agree with, then they will gravitate towards Twitter, and Twitter will actually be successful and will gain share from other sources of media, and it will cause those other sources of media to then stop towing the line and to sort of be more truthful.
What's your just a quick question, Elon? What's the biggest risk, in your opinion, from the steps you've taken in terms of releasing the files? Do you see any risks for Twitter?
I mean, I guess there'll probably be some. I wouldn't be surprised if some lawsuits or something. So I would expect there to be some legal risk. But what's important? That's less of a concern than just clearing the air and making sure that people of Earth and know what really happened. And
the metrics, the Twitter metrics show that it seems like it's the right decision by far, not only ethically but from a business perspective as well. That you keep hitting new records.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, it's the point of as it becomes clear and that Twitter is the place to actually figure out what's going on and get the unfiltered narrative, the unfiltered truth. Also for the people of Twitter to be able to suggest narratives and steer the, and emphasize narratives themselves, and have things not be controlled like it is with the so-called mainstream media, where the narrative is controlled by a handful of editors in chiefs. If basically the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and Washington Post, and maybe a few others decide what the narrative is. And so even if what they say is completely truthful, the people don't really get a choice in what topics are covered. So whereas on Twitter they do. Like there could be something really important going on in the world, and then the big news organizations aren't covering it for whatever reason. But on Twitter, the people can decide what narratives are important and what should be emphasized and what should, So that's.
So on that note, like,
can I mention something really quick? Can I just mention something really quick that I can hear you.
Okay,
is that you?
I'm just going to ask a quick question. I want to know what Twitter is doing, or what you are doing, what you're planning to allow people to have more ability to publish their own stories on Twitter. Because right now we just have tweets, right? Yeah. But what are your plans for, say, video publication or article publication, things to incentivize creators and journalists, independent journalists, to be able to have their voices heard for more than just tweets?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are all like very obvious moves. One needs to be able to obviously post long-form written content on Twitter. One needs to be able to post long videos and long audio on Twitter natively, and there obviously needs to be a means of monetizing that so that creators can make a living. Those are. I feel like I'm saying that the sky is blue and the grass is green. That's pretty obvious stuff. But in order to implement those things, Twitter needs to have a strong software engineering organization that is focused on shipping great code. Really was quite a mess before, but it will have a strong engineering team and be able to implement those basic features, so that even if there are lots of limitations, let's say on example, then they can post it on Twitter, and then Twitter can be an effective competitor to YouTube. And then, like I said, what happens when there's competition for the truth, and everyone and one company steps out of line, then and actually really disallow the truth to flourish, it's going to put a lot of competitive pressure on other organizations to do the same thing.
Can you talk about whether or not the effort to supposedly pre-bunk malinformation, which is to take real information and then, if it's damaging to a narrative, to put fear, uncertainty, and doubt around it, is there an attempt through the Department of Homeland Security or the FBI or CISA or any of these groups to tell Twitter that it has to maintain a port so that information can come from the government to say, we need this information pre-bunked?
Well, I mean, if there is any sort of request from the U.S. government that is not in accordance with the law or can be legally fought, then Twitter will refuse it's legal, and if something can't be will legally and if something cannot be will be Congress was such that it can be legally fought. But we cannot gag the voice of the people. This is not good. And like I said earlier, it's like you look at I read a lot of history. I love history, and I love history podcasts and stuff. And
Hardcore history is the best one.
Hardcore history. Dan Collin is so awesome.
It's fantastic. Start with the Mongols.
Yeah, but it's like you look through history, man, and it's like we have this pressure. We're in this precious situation where, like, this rare, unusual situation where there's actually, I mean, within boundaries, there is actually freedom of speech, but it's rare in history, and usually it's like been some king or whatever that's just they were just by default suppress people, and now we have this like rare moment in history where the voice of the people is mostly not suppressed, but now there are people trying to suppress it, and we just need to fight really hard for freedom of speech. This is very, I think, essential to the future of civilization.
I absolutely agree with you. I mean, this is why you're fighting, right? This is why, you're fighting for free speech so that we can have it in the future. Because if we don't have control of the present, we do not have control of the future. It will be in the control of somebody else, someone that we absolutely do not want to be in control of anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to chime in there, there are a lot of people in the last decade that have lost hope because what's happening in politics, what's happening in the media, there's so much frustration. And I think the most important thing that you've done here, Elon, with your steps that you are taking is to give people hope again.
Well, great. I'm really glad to hear that. And like I said, I'll do my best here. I'm definitely going to make some mistakes along the way, and it won't be perfect, but I'll also then do my best to correct those mistakes and to be, the least dumb possible. Like as I say, Vox Populi, Vox Dei, man. It's just like, yeah, I mean.
It's a very white-pilling moment to have you fight this fight. A lot of us have been fighting this culture war for free speech, basically, and, I think a lot of people have lost hope because they didn't see anyone caring about it, right? It's like the majority of people obviously do care, but they just don't know what to do. And yeah, it's true what Kim said, just to echo what he said. Thank you for fighting this fight. I mean, this is very, very important. It's not just you, it's not just me, it's all of us.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of like sort of, worried about the future of civilization. Just like, are we headed in a good direction? Like, and if you study history, you sort of see like the arc of civilizations, the rise and fall. There's the ancient Sumerians, the ancient Egyptians, in India and China, there've been many sort of rises and falls of civilizations within India and China, and it's just like people sometimes take for granted that because they've been in an upcycle, that things just get better in the future, and they don't just automatically get better. They actually civilizations tend to have an arc, and we want to make sure that we do not find ourselves on the downslope of that arc.
Good times make weak men, right? And we are in the good times right now, and we're seeing a lot of weak men, right? Like that's where we are in this arc, and it sucks. So let's try not to repeat the same cycle. We need to fight the cycle.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, it's like, not to sort of get like too philosophical about things here, but there is like sort of a, I've had these discussions with like a lot of people, and feel like wondering like, sort of what's the meaning of life? Like, what should we do? Like, why do anything? For some people that answer is religious, but then if you're not sort of very religious, then what is the answer? And actually, my theory on that is that I sort of believe in Douglas Adams' philosophy that the universe is the answer, and we should strive through greater understanding to expand the scope and scale of consciousness to better understand what questions to ask about the answer that is the universe. It's basically a religion of curiosity. Like let's grow into the future, expand in the future, expand consciousness, expand our understanding, and to just figure out what the heck's going on.
And it's the number 42, right? The number 42 as well. And also, don't panic and make sure you grab a towel.
Elon, thanks for
without giving away too much. Really quick, Elon, is there any way to get a sneak peek of what we can expect with the next Twitter files drop?
Well, I'm somewhat leaving this up to Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss, but I think the natural thing would be to say, like, okay, what happened after the election, the Hunter Biden laptop stuff. And by the way, I actually don't. I this may sound bizarre, but like Hunter Biden seems kind of fun, to be honest.
I know, right? Yeah, he's an artist. Do you know that?
He seems like he knows how to have a good time.
I mean, he has a sense of humor about himself.
Hunter Biden here, but just beyond the what happened after the election? How much government influence was there? There's this whole sort of move to create a disinformation ministry, which was insane. And like George Orwell is turning in his grave. To hear such things. But like what happened with that, I think there was a public outcry about a disinformation.
Yeah, Jack Posobiec started that one. He basically stopped it in its tracks because before that, nobody knew that this was even a thing, right? And he exposed it, and suddenly everybody was talking about it, and they had to shut it down because it was very Orwellian. It was like they used 1984 as an instruction manual.
Exactly, totally. It's exactly 1984 is George Orwell's 1984 is supposed to be a warning, not an instruction manual.
Yep.
Come on.
And that's what they seem to be doing. They take every single, dystopian fiction, whether it's Deus Ex, I love that game, and they're like, yeah, this world looks awesome. Let's oppress the hell out of people. It's like, no, let's not do that.
Exactly, totally.
Hey, Elon, speaking of progress, you've accomplished so much. You started the first successful American car company in 100 years. You brought payments to the internet. There's a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs and small business owners that look at what you do and sort of try to, follow that example and see how can they create some of that progress too. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about the layoffs because it appeared to me with the $4 million loss per day and just doing the math on the $1 billion of interest expense that $3 million of that may have been interest expense added. And I myself, running a small business, have been in a situation where, the business was going to go under in a number of months if expenses weren't cut, and what we found is communicating to employees, giving them time to process, getting their feedback, and then creating a shared vision to evolve the product, to evolve the company to a greater future was really successful. And it appears here that the typical leverage buyout KKR approach was basically applied from a financial standpoint. For a small business owner, is that approach wrong? Did you think about taking that approach? Was that ever under consideration?
I apologize. The audio is not perfect, so I'm not fully hearing the questions. But with respect to Twitter, the company basically tripled headcount in about 2 years, a little over 2 years, but revenue is flat to declining. So that there's just no way that is going to be a healthy situation. So the first order of business with Twitter was like, okay, we got to make sure Twitter doesn't die, that doesn't go bankrupt. And there is quite a lot of debt on this deal, $12.5 billion of debt, and the Fed is being extremely unwise in its very giant rate increases. I think these will go down as some of the most foolish Fed decisions ever. But anyway, so the debt's got to be serviced.
But KKR's been loading up businesses like that for years. How's this different?
Sorry?
KKR and other private equity companies that do anything from a hostile takeover, or any sort of takeover where they bid over the current price, using leverage, using debt. I've been following that for years, and it always results in massive layoffs. And so, as somebody who's
by the way, I don't think anybody cares about that. I don't think that matters right now.
That's what I was gonna say. And I was gonna say, as long as they keep moving the bar and changing the definition of a recession, we are where we are, right?
Let's get back on topic here. We have Elon. We don't need to talk about his investments and things like that. Elon, we should send a shout out to the Twitter Spaces team because you're about to break the all-time record with this space. We're almost at 100,000 listeners right now.
Yes, we are, and it's holding.
Talking about spaces, what's the strategy moving forward?
Is awesome. Look, I have to tell you, there are really some amazing people at Twitter, and there's actually some amazing people who actually left Twitter in recent years, and I hope they come back because I think there's a potential to just build some amazing things here. So I don't want to just. I want to be exactly complimentary of some of the great work that is being done at Twitter. So it's sort of it's sort of like, there's a lot to criticize about Twitter and say like, okay, Twitter is wasting money in a lot of in really some next level ways, but also some very talented people who really care about the truth at Twitter, and I'm doing my best to elevate their capabilities and give them all the resources they need. I'm very excited about Community Notes. This feature, Keith Coleman's running it, and there's some really first-rate engineers that are writing the code on that product that is, I think, going to be very powerful for actually fighting disinformation, not.
Can we actually see that if we're not enrolled in Community Notes, right? Like right now, the rest of the world isn't, right? It's just the United States and I think Canada, to my knowledge. But can you at least make it visible to other people? So even if we're not able to contribute, we can at least view it, because I feel kind of left out. I'm in Malaysia, so it's kind of hard to see it.
Yeah, actually, I asked that. I sent a note to Keith Coleman saying like, hey, shouldn't we just at least make this visible everywhere? And then he said we needed to talk in person about that, but I'm not sure what.
Hey Elon, we did want to say on the Twitter Spaces during the blowout of SBF and FTX and all the other companies in crypto, there's been massive financial losses for many people, obviously. But Twitter Spaces actually became the place that drove the community together, and we've been sharing lots of stories. There were people that were suicidal because of the financial loss, and because of the community in Twitter Spaces, it prevented them taking their life. There's lots and lots of stories.
And to add to it as well, Elon, last time, if you remember when you joined the space about Sam, that space ended up going for 16 hours, and for 3-4 days the media was in our space getting the news from the space for 4 days, 5 days straight, and then writing stories on it day after day. And I think Simon was there, Kim was there, so it was I think it's the first time it happens to that extent on Twitter Spaces, and we're probably doing it again today.
Yeah, and this type of citizen journalism that you are enabling is so powerful, because we are the news now. If people want to learn the truth, they go to Twitter and join these spaces. It's like real time with experts. It's fantastic. And then we have people like you joining in and sharing their opinions and their thoughts. What is more powerful than that? The traditional media can pack and it's game over for them.
Elon, would you ever consider holding a space for earnings for Tesla right here live on Twitter?
Oh man, I have to say, Tesla being a public company, it just creates such a gigantic attack surface for legal firms in the U.S., especially these class action firms.
Yeah, that seems like a bad idea.
I've been to spaces that other CEOs held, and they did their earnings live right on Twitter, and I thought it was quite amazing.
Okay, well, yeah, sure. I'm happy to do it. Yeah.
You've made Elon. You've just made two promises. You've made two promises, man. Now you've made this one, and you've made one to Kim about the You made a promise to Kim about the poll, and now you made a promise to hold the Tesla meeting here on Spaces. So just I'll remind you afterwards about it as well.
I will.
Elon, I've been getting a lot of questions.
I will do those things.
Yeah. So I've been getting a lot of questions from people who are just bombarding me just to ask you, right? Because, we're in the space. They're asking, what are you going to do about the shadow banning situation? Because, I'm personally search banned. I'm not shadow banned, but I am search banned, and I'm not sure what's even up with that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've only been on the job like a month, guys. So there's definitely, I've got a long list of things to do. But there needs to be a general, we need to say, your account should actually just tell you are search banned or you are deboosted or whatever it is, and why, and what the process is for fixing that. Now, this week, I should tell you that we were probably a little overzealous, and that's, if anything, that's my fault, because I'm just trying to get rid of the damn scams and spam and bots and stuff, and so in trying to stamp out or reduce the bot spam scam stuff, there will be some false positives. So that's just this week, but be taking. It's going to be an iterative journey towards truth and towards a healthier system. So
you just got to be patient. I think, right?
At any given point, it will be broken, but it will be moving as quickly as possible towards a good place. And I encourage people to, complain about it and whatnot. But it's just it will move iteratively towards a good place. That's the goal. And I generally move pretty fast. So on the net, the vector sum of those decisions over time should be.
I'm losing him.
Yeah. By the way, Kim, check my DMs. Kim, check my DMs. Kim, check my DMs because I'm having glitches, so I might need your help with a few things.
He's back.
Elon, you're back. Elon.
Yep.
You're back. Another question. I think you've made a reference once to WeChat. I think that was a while ago, and I don't recall it correctly. Does that reference still stand today? Is that a potential vision for Twitter?
Yeah, I was just using WeChat as an example. It's not like we would copy WeChat exactly, but it's just WeChat has a lot of functionality that Twitter should have. Like it's kind of a no-brainer for Twitter to have payments, both fiat currency and crypto, and to make that easy and simple for people to use. As talked about earlier, adding the ability to post long-form written content and video content, and to be able to monetize that easily.
Nice to have a playlist, like YouTube does.
Yeah. But my focus in the first month and also will be the case in December is just making sure that Twitter is operating efficiently as a company, that it is not wasting money, because it faces challenges on the revenue front, from with an overdependence on advertising that is not targeted, like brand advertising, and in a market where advertising revenue in general is dropping, and then also when you start questioning the status quo, then various pressure groups start pressuring advertisers to not advertise with you. So that's another challenge on the revenue front. And then you got the debt, and the debt now has a very high interest rate. So it's like these are a lot of challenges simultaneously that I think we'll solve these challenges, but these are a lot of things to solve. So the first order of business is just get Twitter healthy. Make sure its expenditures are reasonable. That Twitter's like primarily a software company. There are obviously design elements, but it's primarily software and servers. And so, like, is the software team organized well? Those that are committing good code, and just making the engine of engineering work at Twitter. Because if you look at, say, like, what is Twitter's technology evolution over time, excluding acquisitions, it's been very low. The technology of Twitter has been very slow. And
10 years for an edit button.
Yeah, exactly. The edit button. Look, I mean, if it takes a year to do an edit button and the edit button still doesn't work properly, then you can have a million good ideas, but they're irrelevant because you can't implement them.
So Elon, I've got a quick question for you, my friend. I was removed from the space.
Hey, I want to test my mic. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. Maybe can you hear me?
Alex, we can hear you. Yeah, go ahead. Let Alex ask the first question.
Okay. Does Alex want to go, and then I can go?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So my question was, if the Twitter files, are those also going to include other content other than the Hunter Biden laptop? So basically all cases?
Yeah.
Alex, Mario, we can't hear you.
This is a bit of an audio shit show. Let's try and get this back on the road. I unmuted everyone. I muted everyone. I'm going to unmute those who are not talking. Just mute yourself, please.
I would like to ask Elon a quick question.
Okay, trying this again.
I think Alex just did, and he was ready to respond. He just now would have to unmute himself to respond to Alex.
Yeah, I was just wondering if all accounts that were requested to have things taken down by the DNC and by the Biden campaign, even ones that have nothing to do with the Hunter Biden laptop, if they will also be released.
Elon, you're muted.
You got to unmute. Yeah, you got to unmute.
Yep, he's got to unmute. That's all right. Yes, the intent is to release all the files. So there's not like anything that's hidden or anything.
I can't hear anybody.
dropped out. Is my mic good, Kim, by the way? Is it my mic okay?
We can hear you.
It just
Mario,
sounds like you are in.
Oh, he's back. He's back.
Oh, okay.
Wait,
Oh,
can you
okay.
guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now,
I can
Elon.
hear you again. Yeah. So you cut out. Yeah, you cut out for a second while you were answering Alex. I mean, I think this is like whatever Stasi files or Truth and Reconciliation. Like Nelson Mandela would say, it's if you want reconciliation, there must be truth. So that's the intent here is to just make it clear what was happening and provide transparency about the past, and in doing so to build trust about the future.
Awesome. So do you think that Twitter could also have an automatic notification if anyone was, say, if their account was requested content taken down? Do you think there could be something like that implemented?
Yeah, like some VPN sites actually offer that. Yeah, I mean, you mean it's like if a government has a takedown request or something like that? Yeah. Like if a government says, "Hey, we want you censored." I mean, I think
for example,
even Germany would
James
let you know,
Woods.
right? So why doesn't America? Yeah.
Or with James Woods, for example, how his content was, they requested his content be removed. Say if that happened from the Biden campaign.
I think both past and future requests should be made public. And sunshine is a great disinfectant, and so if if they request content takedowns that are embarrassing, then they'll be less likely to request those content takedowns. At the end of the day, Twitter doesn't have a choice but to abide by the laws of the U.S. and whatever countries it's operating in. Otherwise, you get arrested. But we shouldn't do more than that. It should be abide by the laws because you have to. If there may be some potential to say if we disagree with the law, maybe we can lobby to have a law changed or something like that. But
so Elon, I want to ask you on this point. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, but I'm saying the overarching goal here is that on balance that Twitter be a force for good for the future of civilization, and for the expansion of consciousness.
So to that point, I want to ask you then, because I'm speaking from the European lens, what do you think about the EU's proposals over potential restrictions to the use of Twitter?
Losing you a little bit.
Or equally, I know you had a little bit of a, shall we say, fanfare with Alex Vindman earlier this week. I was wondering if you would be interested in a space with you and him, since I know him from the week ago. We had a chat. I invite you to, to a debate. If you'd be interested.
Don't waste your time with the intelligence community, man.
Seriously, yeah.
I'm teasing. But I am curious about your thoughts on the European Union perspective.
Well, actually, there's a lot of the EU rules call for things that I agree with, which is transparency and sort of an ability for users to appeal and have a clear process. So I think in terms of the Digital Services Act, I think it's mostly good. I think we have to watch the implementation of it and make sure the implementation is not bad for the people of Europe, but the actual I think most of what is in there I agree with, because it's transparency and accountability. It seems quite sensible. We just need to make sure that is not warped in a bad direction. But generally, I agree with it, or at least what I know of it today.
But
I
what
have a
about
quick
the
question for you,
thing
Elon.
is that we don't allow governments to define what misinformation or disinformation is, right? I mean, that is probably the most dangerous development, to give governments that kind of power that they become the deciders of what's truth and what is not.
Yeah, no, that is a big deal. I agree. That goes to the heart of the situation. Is that you don't want to have governments, and especially it may not even be sort of it may not be an elected official. Maybe someone who's potentially a mid-level executive in a ministry who's deciding this, who people don't even know exists and was never elected, despite being in a democratic country. So
what about the China protests? What role do you think that Twitter can have in helping to support Iran, Ukraine, China, and other countries that are facing, technological oppression and limitation in their access to freedom of speech?
Well, I mean, yeah, like I said, we'll do whatever is possible within the bounds of the law. So,
I have a kind of a personal question, and I've been curious. Was there a breaking point that made you decide to want to buy Twitter?
Man, that's a good question.
Thank you.
I was hoping you would say the child exploitation that you've done more to get rid of in the past month than they did in the past 10 years on Twitter. And I wanted to thank you for that. And I'm sorry that the media has completely snubbed you on mentioning the fact that you guys have gone above and beyond to make that happen. And Eliza Blue, thank you for your work and efforts there.
Yeah, I'd like to say thank Eliza Blue. I would like to thank Andrea as well. We've actually had this is actually like a really good case of crowdsourcing of having people on Twitter actually help solve the child exploitation stuff. It is true. Yes, Twitter has done more to stop child exploitation in the last month than probably the last 10 years. That's insane. It kind of blows my mind, frankly. And we're going to keep doing it, and it's always going to be number one. I mean, it's like kids can't defend themselves, so we must defend them as adults. So, yeah.
Back to the question why Elon decided to buy Twitter.
Mario, we can't hear you.
No, you sound like a mosquito now.
Sounds like he's in the toilet, to be honest.
Elon, do you still have plans to drop the W? Everyone is asking.
I mean, technically the poll did come out positive on that. So
the people have spoken.
No, the people have not spoken. But most of my question, I don't think you answered that. I want to know, what was the breaking point? I think a lot of people want to know this one. What was the breaking point that made you want to buy Twitter?
Well, first of all, I suppose if Twitter had been, if I'd been able to buy Twitter sooner, then I might have actually done that. But there had to be a situation where my liquidity was enough and Twitter's value was, there was essentially a closing price. Would I actually have buy it? That wasn't the case until recently. But I guess it just felt like it really had been building for some time. So I wouldn't say there was it wasn't like a step change suddenly. This is a one thing. It's not like, oh, the Babylon Bee got banned, that's why I bought Twitter. That would be crazy. It's more that there just seemed to be this more and more groupthink amongst the media, more and more sort of towing the line amongst digital social media companies, and basically just we're traveling the path more and more of suppression of free speech, and this was just getting me concerned. It's like the trends were just very, very bad. So unless something was done to reverse this trend against free speech, then I felt, well, maybe that at some point everything will just get cut off, and unless you're in agreement with whatever the groupthink is, then you're just going to be ostracized, or your voice will be shut off. So like I said, it wasn't any one thing. It was just like, okay, I can't exactly say why, because it's like one of those things where it's like it's just that my biological neural nets said it is important to buy Twitter, and you just like with a digital neural net, you can't really exactly explain why the neural net is able to understand an image or text, but just say that the collective result of the neural net says that this is an important action, or this is the right action, and my biological neural nets concluded that it was important to buy Twitter, and that if Twitter was not bought and steered in a good direction, that it would be a danger for the future of civilization, and so that's why I bought it.
That's brilliant.
Elon, you mentioned the biological neural net and the digital neural net. When is Neuralink going to be ready to copy our consciousness into a computer forever?
Where can I sign up for it? Because I would love to have my brain augmented. It's like cyberpunk.
Yeah, exactly. It's going full cyberpunk at this point. Deus Ex.
Elon, I
Ghost
want
in
to
the
pose
Shell.
the other side to that. I'm sure you're familiar with Doctor Who, right? And the Cybermen, and this idea of a centralized system by which you can influence people's thoughts. Is that not a consideration that you have on your radar? If you get what I'm coming from.
Well, I mean, frankly, on the Neuralink front, if I look at the pace at which artificial intelligence is improving versus the pace at which Neuralink is progressing, artificial intelligence is moving much faster than Neuralink is moving, because as soon as anything gets done with humans, it gets very slow because of the danger to humans. So for the next few years, Neuralink is really just focused on restoring movement to people that have a broken neck or spine, and restoring vision. So it's restoring movement and vision. It's not, uploading memories or controlling thoughts or anything like that. It's pretty basic stuff. It's like at the early days of computers,
It's basic, but it's life-changing, though, right? I mean, being able to see if you're born blind, that is a gift that I don't think anyone would pass up. That would be amazing.
Yeah, and that's very doable. So what I'm saying about Neuralink is that you'll be able to see anything that Neuralink's doing. You'll be able to see coming from very far off, because you've got to go through the whole FDA device approval process. That takes ages. You've got to evaluate the safety in humans, and that takes a long time. So it's very slow compared to the development of digital superintelligence, which is very fast. Now, I do think for a long time that we ought to be more cautious in the development of digital superintelligence, because this represents a danger to the public. And just as we have other regulatory agencies that oversee dangers to the public, like the FDA or the FAA, or any one of a number of FCC, you can't just have companies just going hog wild on developing digital superintelligence with no oversight.
Do you potentially see this happening in a country where there are no oversights? Where the governments allow the scientists to go hog wild, as you said?
Well, look, there's the things we can control and things we can't control, and I think there should be some kind of oversight in North America and Europe, which is where a lot of the AI innovation is happening. There should be some kind of oversight beyond nothing, which is currently the case.
How far do you think we are from general artificial intelligence? Like, what is your time frame, you think, until we have the big deal?
I mean, I think it's happening very fast. You've said like AGI is defined by where digital superintelligence is smarter than the smartest human. What is your definition of AGI?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, once AI is able to basically program itself and understands how to advance itself, that would be the level where we need to start to worry, right?
About this, last year after the pandemic, we had the Great Resignation, and now there's the concern about the replacement of traditional labor jobs with, AI and machine technology. I think it was you. I saw the video and the capacity for it to control things with its mind. Is there not a concern about the potential impact it has on, very menial jobs and the, those people who don't have necessarily the skills or ability to retrain that quickly? Just, how can we plan in advance to minimize the consequences of that?
Sorry, the audio is like not good right now. So,
oh, no worries.
Ian,
tell me if you're fine.
Ian, and maybe lead the conversation, Ian, because you can hear you fine, Ian.
Hey,
yeah, we can't hear you, Mario.
Maybe we can have another space sometime in the future to talk about AI, because I think that is one of the big topics, where a lot of people don't really realize how big the risk of AI is. And what you are always asking for is, more regulation, better rules in order to prevent the worst case scenario of, an AGI taking over and basically wiping out
like
humanity.
Look at artists and their jobs. I mean, Midjourney has basically replaced graphic artists for book covers. You don't need a book artist anymore. You can just do it with AI.
Not to change the subject back to the Twitter files, but Kim, I just want to ask Elon a quick question about Section 230. Are you concerned about that now, and what the government could potentially do to Section 230 as a result of the flattening that you're creating at Twitter and all the truth that you're pushing out and the objectivity?
Well, I think it is, and I did say this on Twitter publicly. It is good that we actually that the House will be Republican. It's generally not a good idea if in the U.S. if the House, Senate, and executive branch are all of one party, then you have sort of situation. So it's good to have at least one of those branches be the other party, because then they will check the worst excesses of both parties. So I think I think it's good that the House will be Republican, and at least. And people interpreted that as like, oh, I must be some huge Republican or something. It's like, no, I'm a huge moderate, actually, is what I am. It's just like, I wish people were rigorously moderate. But like, by its nature, being moderate does not lend itself, you cannot be, it's like, be fanatically moderate. but fanaticism and
be a
moderation
radical centrist. I think some YouTubers like to say, right? Be a radical centrist.
Yeah, exactly. Radical centrist. So it's just like you want to have the government pass laws that are in the best interest of the people, not that are in the interest of a small segment of the people. So that's why I think if you have a mixture of parties in control, then then they will pass only things that sort of are the intersection of sets of what both parties agree on, which is more likely to be in the interest of the people. So I think I guess I feel pretty okay about that Section 230 stuff. Yeah.
Elon,
can you just quickly, guys? Can you hear me now or no? I've got great speakers that just came up because now it's not glitching for me anymore. So I've just welcomed Clayton, Patrick, Bet David is on stage as well, and there's more speakers about to come up that all of you would know. Now my space is working. So guys, feel free to jump in and ask Elon any questions.
Hey, thank you so much.
If you want to retry the co-host thing too, Mario. Sorry about that, Clay.
I will now. Go ahead, Clay, and then Patrick. Go ahead, Clay.
Hey, thanks, Elon. This is Clayton from Redacted. One of the stories we've been covering on our show over the past couple of months is Dr. Shiva's lawsuit. He was banned from Twitter running for the Senate from Massachusetts. And one of the things in his lawsuit that was uncovered was the back-end government portal to both Facebook and Twitter, the Trusted Twitter Partnership. And I know on Twitter's blog that Trusted Twitter Partnership between Twitter and someone with a government email address can reach out to Twitter and basically have accounts banned, taken down. Is that portal, is that Trusted Partnership still available to the government? And given what you've released in the Twitter files, does it make sense for that to still be there?
I got to dig into this Trusted Partnership thing. Obviously that has like some Big Brother vibes. Twitter will adhere to the law, but it will not do. It's not going to go beyond the law. And if there are laws that don't seem to be the interest of the people, then Twitter will push to change the laws to be in the interest of the people. But I'll dig into this Trusted Partnership thing, find out what's going on. Yeah.
By the way, Clayton, I do watch Redacted, and I love you and your wife. You're doing an amazing job, so keep it going.
Eric, Sebastian, did you have a question?
Yes, I do, Elon, and
Go ahead, Eric.
It may be a follow-up to the prior question. Elon, in the Twitter, the Twitter files, the things that you found, did you find any relationship between Facebook and any other TikTok, whomever, with regards to what could be considered, the collusion with a certain political parties? Was it, in other words, was there any collusion among other social media groups with Twitter?
I've not directly seen that. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I've not seen it yet. In fact, in terms of the Twitter files, Matt TV's read way more than I have, like by a ton. Because my priority has been just getting Twitter healthy and fixing Twitter engineering so that we can actually, release features at a high rate. So, that's been my priority on the Twitter front. Is we've got to get Twitter to be in a financially healthy place, fix the engine of engineering, so we can add the features and capabilities that'll make it much better, and improve transparency and trust and all that. So, actually, I don't. Most of the stuff I've read hardly any of the Twitter files. Matt TV has. And then Barry Weiss is also getting access to it, so she'll read it too.
Have you been in contact with any of the other social platforms, Meta, Google, etc., since the release of the files? Has there been any pushback, any concerns, anything at all, or it's been pretty quiet?
They haven't reached out to me, so I'm not aware of any outreach from them. So I guess, look, if it turns out there's like stuff that the public should know about, then we'll put it out there. I told Matt TV and Barry Weiss, hey, listen, whatever you see, if you think the public should know about it, you just post it.
With regards to the dissemination of information, so right now it's just Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss. Do you have any plans to maybe give access to more journalists, like say Ryan Saavedra of Daily Wire, Jack Posobiec? I mean, he's done lots of coverage on this stuff even previously, so I'm sure they'd love to know.
Yeah, I think. Maybe at some point we should just put it all out there, So, I think in the beginning it's good to have some coherence, so it's not just a million stories all at once.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it's a drip feed at first, and then later on it's going to be a flood, right? Because otherwise it's just too many stories, too much all at once, and then people can't really focus on anything. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, you just get drowned out in the flood of things. But I think
Yep.
once we think the stories have the critical stories have been told, then I think probably the right move is to just provide a data dump and then people can go through it and see what was missed.
Are you surprised at all about the blowback against Matt Taibbi over the past 24 hours? I mean, a number of liberal news organizations, a lot of liberal news reporters came out and really slammed Matt Taibbi, which really was really shocking. What was your response to that?
Well, I think those people should be looking in the mirror and wondering why they were deceptive. Why did they deceive the American public? And instead of trying to redirect blame to Matt Taibbi, they seem to be accepting some responsibility themselves for not being truthful to the American public.
Elon, it's Mike Cohen here. Congratulations on, of course, the acquisition of Twitter. But my question to you is, how are you going to go about combating the issue of bot farms who create so much misinformation and hate on your platform?
If the last thing I do, I will defeat the damn bots and trolls.
Maybe they need like a mind virus that purges them, just makes them self-destruct.
Yeah, I mean, it's war, and we're gonna win that war, big time.
Yeah, because I'm confident you will.
The extent of the hatred that these bots cause is astronomical.
I agree.
And it's really terrible. But thank you for your commitment to that.
Absolutely.
Can I jump in and ask a question here, Michael? Just real quick. I wanted to say something about the bots. So there are, of course, commercial bots, right? People trying to do spam, but the more dangerous bots are those that are trying to interfere in discourse and try to manipulate the conversation. And those are primarily run by governments, right? They're run by the intelligence community in different countries. They're trying to manipulate the way people are talking, for example, about Ukraine. I think one of the more famous examples here are these so-called Nawfal bots that are going out and shooting everyone down.
Real people.
Yeah, often where they're mixing it, right? So the intelligence community does it in that way. They have real people, then they have bots that are fully automated, and then they even let their intelligence community employees work with Twitter profiles to chime in as well. But all with one goal, which is to manipulate the public discourse towards their goals. And I think you experienced that yourself when you spoke out for peace in Ukraine. You were attacked by these same bots.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, I've been on the job a month. I'm very good at software. I wrote software for 20 years. I was very good back in the day at defeating the scammers. The bad actors had free reign in the system before. They will not have that in the future. I look forward to that battle. And we will expose those who are acting to manipulate public opinion and shine a bright light on it.
Fantastic.
Hey, Kim, if I could just ask a quick question on that same topic, because
there was a point at which I was told by someone who apparently had access to this Discord server for these NATO or NAFO trolls that I was among their top targets, or even the number one target for a while. So I'm just sort of a personal curiosity. By the way, this is Michael Tracy. And so, Elon, I'm just curious if you were able to detect or gauge any inauthentic activity on Twitter specifically related to this sort of pro-Ukraine faction, or was there a particular sort of system that kind of connects those actors that you were able to discern since you've taken the helm?
Well, the tools that Twitter currently has to detect large-scale manipulation are quite weak and need to be strengthened considerably. That's why. But in order for them to be strengthened, we must, like I said, build the engine of engineering, and to be able to sort of see what's going on in the system. I mean, over and over again, it's been it's like Twitter doesn't know what's going on in Twitter. That's actually the issue. So we need to build the tools that can analyze what's going on and see where is there evidence of large-scale manipulation, and in order to highlight it. And I think even if it's not shut down, if it is simply highlighted and said, wait a second, these accounts are all acting in concert, they're acting in a way that is faster than a human could possibly coordinate. This appears to be a linked 100,000 bots linked that are all acting in concert, and just say and expose them essentially. But those software tools need to be written, and they have not yet been written. So they will be.
I have written those tools, so I can give them to you.
Right, Elon, wouldn't it be easier if you were able to use some form of two-part authentication in order to ensure that the individual...
You've dropped out, Ian. You've dropped out, Michael. Oh, you're back. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Elon, would it not be easier to just use some form of two-part authentication to ensure that the individual is who they say they are?
Yes. Now so this is part of what's the game plan with the sort of blue verified thing, is that right now it is there are problems on many levels. It's too cheap to have a bot. So and even a troll, like it's not just that somebody's operating a bunch of 10,000 instances of Twitter accounts, in a bank of PCs.